Singapore call. Yes, I'm in Singapore right now. That's my view out the window. It's
Oh,
yeah, it's nice here. It's good. Good to be back after lots of travels around the world. This is going to be a super exciting call. We had a few Emerald calls yesterday, and lots of interesting, exciting things going on. Some really good things we already have covered. Let me share with you a few different things, give you a bit of an idea on what's been going on different calls and what we can pull from those calls in addition to what we go from this call. So, and I think we've got some new people who come and joined us as well, which is great. So on here, you will find that there are the Emerald calls that we have on here, along with a little story about Elon Musk and his billionaire going up to the moon in the next 5 years, which is kind of interesting. The recordings will be up here shortly, so Darius will put the recordings up here. But we actually had a theme which was very much around promotions, like promotions leading you to building a team, right? So there's like a whole area around that where we covered. So when the recording goes up, you might want to go and have a look at that. And we had some really good examples of that happening. Like, Nicola's got her big promotion that's happening. We walked through what that was, what that looked like. And we also then had, off the back of that, we were talking around the state of the markets. You probably have seen that, Dow's at a record. You got like the likes of Funding Circle doing this $2.4 billion, valuation. And then while this is happening, there is also people like Ray Dalio saying that the next crash is coming. So like what to do about all that kind of stuff actually came out in the enterprise calls as well. We kind of covered that as we went. And so we then had our Emerald 2 call, which was very much around green level, like how to really build a team and the best ways to make sure you've got the right team and what dynamics profiles should be for different team members. And we also walked through 4 companies. There was 4. There was like, this is something that Summit's doing. He's got his existing company and he's got a new startup, right? We've got the same thing that Rastika's doing, where she's got her existing business and a new startup. And we walked through like how to make sure if you've actually got something existing and something new, how to make sure you're in flow of both of them at the same time. And we actually walk through that as well. So that is all of the things to look out for those 2 calls in terms of themes. And then we are going to be now running through all of everyone's updates on this call, and we will see what the theme is that we're about to jump into. So good to have everyone on the call, first of all. It's going to be a super awesome call. I am going to share with you the order in which we are going to cover everything here. We're actually going to do the opposite of last time, which means this time round, we get to start with Joel. And his highlight is new project emerging, supporting daughter in goal of tackling teen mental health crisis. Product emerging, the Genius School, credible team coming together, partnership with Sebastian and other CC members. So a lot of this showed up at the London event, which Joel was at. Profile developing, multiple TV interviews, national award nominations, partnership of Mind, invitation to Parliament. It's all happening. So this is kind of what happens, right? You create a new vacuum where there's new opening, and then like a new opportunity shows up as well, which is like really, really exciting. So big questions. Number 1, how to collaborate with Genius School founders on green level to help them develop the required systems, materials, marketing materials, corporate sponsorship packs, reputation, and profile, KPIs, etc. Number 2, ideas for improving massage agency model. Sorry, the Uber massage has already been done by a few companies with multi-million pound investment. Exactly, it has, right? So I've got a question for you on that as well. But first, let's go to the first question I have, which is, what would you share with everyone who wasn't at the London event as to what was your highlight that came out of the event? Let's kick it off with that.
Yeah, hello everybody. Hello everyone I haven't met before. Fantastic to have you on the group. Okay, how to summarize 3 pretty big days that leave you pretty exhausted and brain frazzled at the end. But it's brilliant to reinforce the messages you give. So it was my second kind of summit I've been to. So I also brought my wife and my 14-year-old daughter. So I thought it'd be good for them to actually understand a bit better what I've been banging on for about a year. So I brought them along. So it was good to reinforce all the principles, and it's an amazing community of people, both, in terms of what people are doing and people's kind of state of consciousness in terms of trying to do good and trying to collaborate and help each other to do good. So I think the biggest thing I got was reconnecting with people I'd met last year and people I've met on these calls, and finding ways we can help each other. And I think the biggest one that came from that was this guy Sebastian, who I've met before, and we were both kind of looking at ways of dealing with this teen mental health crisis. And when we got talking, we saw how a collaboration would both help us really be in our profiles and would massively accelerate both what each of us was doing. So that was a huge thing. And also getting my wife and daughter massively excited and talking every day about profiles and teams and things as well. So we're all full contact.
Awesome.
So
Okay, very cool. Okay, fab. All right, great. Okay, so my question is going to be, first of all, with the collaboration on Junior School, I mean, I don't know how much time you spent with Angie and Rustika, or even with, Sebastian obviously has just come back from Bali, as had Sandy. But in terms of what you see being the model that you're most excited by, given that obviously Junior School's got everything from camps to micro schools.
Yeah, so I've had limited communication with Angie and Rustica because they actually went off on a Greek holiday afterwards. But I've had quite a lot of communication with Sebastian. And after reviewing their materials, what still has to be worked through is their basic model, because it seemed to me that their model is designed for educators, and it was people with a network of children who can add camps to their existing portfolio of products. And I was looking at the kind of revenue generating potential of it and trying to understand how many camps you'd have to deliver to make that a reasonably large business, or deliver. And I was also looking at how you could be involved on a kind of a green level, which is kind of what I am inspired to do now, if you know what I mean. So not just coming in as a kind of consultant and kind of using the whole system. The second thing is, when I started reviewing their materials, I've had a little bit of experience in this before, in that I've been involved in developing franchises in the past, and I've seen early stage franchises, and I felt that a lot of their stuff is still quite early stage and will need. I thought if I was going to go out there and I was going to recruit schools, which would be my pipeline to the children, and then corporate sponsors, which would be the pipeline to the funding, there's a lot more that needs to be done in terms of their marketing materials. And I also felt that the profile hasn't been, I mean, obviously there's a profile linked to you, but their organization hasn't got a profile yet. So I felt I'd probably be having to develop that for them through my kind of success and connections and stuff. So I felt there's quite a lot of work to do there. And I felt that I definitely need a closer connection to Angie and Rustica to kind of collaborate and make sure I'm not going off on a tangent that they're not happy with. And and I see a lot of investment of time that I'll have to do to produce the materials I'm comfortable to take into a big corporate sponsor or take to a kind of association of headmasters kind of thing. So felt it was early stage and felt there needed to be collaboration to get it to a point I felt had its best chance of success.
Got it. Okay. All right. Okay. Got that. And with all of this excitement around the whole education side, like, how committed are you to the whole massage agency model idea?
Okay. So that is it's a crutch in my life. So since Cloud Airport Spas closed, I have bills to pay and rents to pay, etc. So it is an existing business which I really don't have to do much in. I've outsourced all the operations to the Philippines, which is going well. There's no overheads in it because it's just an agency of freelancers, and the only next step would be to find a salesperson. But no, I mean, I would drop that in a moment for a better thing. But at the moment, it's paying the bills. I'm just we've got a few good clients who just keep sending us orders, but it is a few good clients. If they went, there probably wouldn't be a business anymore.
Okay.
But it does take my time. Again, I say it's all set up, but it still takes time and mental resources to kind of be in charge of.
Sure. Got it.
But I'll drop it in a second because the model's kind of a very limited model at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, great. Okay, fantastic. Thanks very much, Joel. I'm going to go back to all that, but we're going to continue on now. We're going to come next to Richard and Kerry. Challenge, we're going to come to the highlight, taking our team to GS18. Oh yeah, so the team came along, and road testing the new AR app, meeting a star who's already opened a few doors for us, an expansion into the building unit next door, 30% more space. And biggest question is, how do I monetize apps when there are opportunities with different markets, but the app has different applications? We expanded the concept beyond what it was originally. Also had interest from a big UK band on RCA Records and a big corporate as a company-wide communication tool. Well, that's kind of interesting. Okay, so guys, same question for you. What was biggest highlight for you from the London event?
Hey, Roger. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
I think for us, it was taking more of our team down to London and getting them to experience and connect with other like-minded people. Because we had our stall there, we obviously got chatting to a lot of people, and which I really enjoyed, and I know Ellis, our member of the team, did. And it's just, yeah, even though everybody's from completely different backgrounds and has completely different businesses, you know, everybody's connected in this way that they all want to do something, you know, better in the world, I think. And yeah, you just met some really great people. Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. Great. And obviously, like, you've got all these opportunities coming your way. I'm going to take the first part first. When you're talking about the app, what are the different markets you actually are most focused at going for, right? And are we talking about the B1G1 app, right?
Yeah, that's where it started.
Yeah.
It's interesting, actually, that you mentioned about there's what's your existing business and your startup. I suppose we're in the same sort of place where we're trying to obviously elevate the startup we've got. But this kind of thing is come on. My criteria for me inventing anything new is kind of, is it ever going to sell T-shirts, and is it going to raise publicity for the main company? So because it hit both of those things, then that was my criteria for doing it, really. So I will watch that other call. It'll be very interesting to sort of look at that. I mean, in terms of the app, yeah, it was just basically an idea I had to connect with John Masters to incorporate AR experiences to start with. And that was obviously really cool, and that's got some lots of leverage opportunities in it. It's really funny, and the motivation for people to actually go and actually download an app and actually scan something and make sure that it's consistent after that, because, you know, once you've done it once, you kind of know what's there. So that's why we ended up linking up the sort of RFID elements to it, so that you can put bespoke digital elements in, personalize it. And then it became around, then I thought, well, actually, we can gamify this. So what we did at the thing was wealth dynamic profiles. So if people found their complementary profiles, then it gamified it and created bigger B1G1 impacts. And similarly around the UN global goals. So that really worked from a merchandising point of view for us, because it allows us to, you know, because we print digitally, we can print one. So a QR code is specific to that person. So that's really cool for us, because it means we're calling that market. But then I kind of realized that it kind of went beyond that, really, when I realized that actually you could, the AR the content that's served by the app can be updated all the time. So, and I started thinking about sort of live event merchandise or corporate event opportunities, where you've kind of got something that can be used after the event. So the app buzzes, and then the content creator or the promoter can then put out new content constantly. So the T-shirt is like the live event after the event, if you see what I mean. You get what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I start thinking that actually that what becomes valuable to the promoter or whoever it is that's you know is hosting the event, the data about that customer becomes really valuable to them. And that there's huge opportunities for sort of ongoing connection between them and their customer. So if immediately with the band, they just seemed to they're just attracted to us basically for what we're doing through T-Shirtify. They were looking for greater connection to their fans direct from the band. So we kind of like moving out of this distribution model where they're thinking, how do we connect to our fans? So I thought, well, this is perfect for us to sort of push this forward and develop it. And so then I started thinking about how you kind of gamify that in event. And there's so many different options in terms of, you know, allowing fans to then create content live, do the viral content for the bands,
Got it.
gamify them into super fans. And then if you've got the data correct, then they're almost putting themselves, if you gamify the super fans, you can kind of reward them by their interactions. And then they're kind of putting themselves into their own marketing avatars there. And then the bands, you know what I mean? So there's tons of stuff that my brain's just gone off like that. The question becomes, because it's been a sort of a collaborated project, there's two ends to it. There's a merchandise side, which won't always, it's got an application for a number of things, but it won't always be the thing. But the app, interestingly, when I spoke to this corporate, said, oh, we can see this as could be a communication tool, like a platform basically, where they've got people spread across the globe, and they've got disconnect with certain elements of their company, and they could like have, you know, they could have AR experiences that they could send out and would connect there. You know, so it's really about how do we actually
how you narrow your focus to what you actually should be doing, basically.
There's that, and also because the merchandise is one revenue stream, but the app I think in itself, it's just, is it licensing? Is it because there's white label options as well, and there's different tiers that we could offer to people. So is it per engagement, per fan, all these different things?
Got it. Yeah. Okay, I have some direction that I think will help a lot as to how the process to get from where you're at to where you want to get to. Cool. All right, that's good. That's really exciting stuff. Okay, very cool. All right, thank you guys. Let's come over. Next, we are going to come to Sophie. Sophie has here highlight Stockholm Entrepreneur Social. That's awesome. You did that. Number 2, great success. Follow Michelle's advice to book people in for follow-up sessions. Epicenter partner for the rest of the autumn and team growing. Speaking gigs including Denmark and music festival. Business models, entrepreneurship, branding, promotion. Yeah, you guys could be using the T-Shirtify QR code at the music festival.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to Richard about that, actually.
Yeah, totally. Talent Dynamics at the Opera House, collaboration with Connection Group, and a very mysterious last line which just says Kung Fu, which I'm going to ask about. Okay, and then we got here, I'd love to share what's going on and hear your take on it to see how I can monetize this better now. Inspiration, education, empowerment, right? So this is another monetizing question. What's the best way to do it? So let's do this, Sophie. First of all, just tell us, I mean, you did your second Entrepreneur Social, and from a context of the fact that pretty much every one of you so far, I've asked a question around, hey, what was the experience like getting together? Because the most critical thing right now, in the world with what's going on in the world, where things are about to go into a major disruption, we've been overdue, basically, a major disruption taking place, and now we've got a bunch of people out there like Ray Dalio and the guys like Pawson who were around 10 years ago when the crisis happened, saying, we're in for a new stock market crash, which is coming. And whenever you see stock markets hitting records, things are about to go bad, right? So whenever that happens, connection between people becomes the most important thing, because it's where you actually get way, way, way better value in terms of building your wealth through your knowledge, through your connections, than you do necessarily through your assets, right? Especially if your assets are going in the opposite direction. So it's always where you see the next thing, the best thing that's coming. So Sophie, in your case, just running the Entrepreneur Social, what new lessons or what new highlights came up for you?
Thank you. I really love running these socials. I feel for me, everything has, I feel very centered and very aligned, and it's as if our years together and everything that we've done really has led up to this point. And I know I've said that before, but I think it's like a gradual, you enter one point and then it's the next and the next. And the I Ching, as we talked about, really also took things to a completely new level. So with the socials, what I find, because we're so lucky with Epicenter, because they are at the very, very forefront of new technology, new trends, and they got scale-up businesses and change makers and visionaries and big corporations as well. So it's just that place in itself, you would love it there. So when you come, hopefully in June next year, I hope to host the event there if we get to have you here. Sure. So what happens is with the social, because I have that venue, we've secured top class speakers like with Gapminder and Hans Rosling, and I think maybe you've seen Bill Gates and Obama, and world leaders are recommending their work. And that obviously also pulls people through the door that are of a certain quality and caliber, and also very forward thinkers and are already very much about collaboration. So we are focusing very much on supporting impact-driven businesses and entrepreneurs through Entrepreneurs Institute and our socials. And I find that there is Stockholm has we already have Impact Hub, we have Singularity University, we've got many hubs already doing similar things. But I find that with our socials, where we differ is that we can also provide entrepreneur education. We have our EI community of 800,000 entrepreneurs, which people are really interested in. And it's just, I feel very strongly that these socials that we have through you are really, really important, and they're going to play a big part moving forward with what we're doing. Yeah. And the feedback I get is great. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, a big step forward in our community globally is going to be our Entrepreneur City Hubs. So we have our Entrepreneur Beach Clubs, and we're now going to set up Entrepreneur City Hubs. And this came out of our trip to China, where we just saw how fast all the co-working is growing. And obviously we know the guys that we work with, we've seen them gone from 0 to 12 massive locations in London within a year. And they all are challenged with the same thing. Number one, that they've got a business model that's going to die, which is that people are paying £1,000 a month for a desk, which is not going to happen in the future. And then number two is that they don't actually build community because they're so busy trying to sell their desks. And as people start leaving and going on to others, they're going to spend more and more time trying to chase people. Whereas what we're going to do is actually set up a city hub, which number one, doesn't require to actually pay for a desk because it's going to make money from the food. It's going to make money. We're going to have a Genius Cafe in each one of them. We're going to launch the first one in London. It's going to have a Genius Cafe, so it's got really great food. It's going to have events sessions like all the way through, just like we do at Genius Cafe. So entrepreneur socials, all those kind of things that people kind of come along and pay to be in. And then we're then going to actually have a community feel where people can come in, use the app, find a supporter if they're a creator, find like an accumulator if they're looking for someone with the numbers, get mentors in whatever areas they're looking for the mentors, use all the tools that we use in Genius U, but in a physical location. And we've already got our city leaders around the world saying, I want to have one of those. So like setting up something like that, which becomes like a base that's then all about education and community and social entrepreneurship is going to be so great. And the first one in London, I'm really looking forward to getting that one started. So we're aiming to get the location and getting the plan in place this side of Christmas. So it's going to happen pretty quick, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I have to say also, I think what's special about what we do is because we're doing we're not doing not for profit, and we're not doing commercial, we're doing for profit, but with a purpose. And I think that's finally, I feel like I found my place, because that's where I am, that's what I'm all about. So by being able now, when we were talking about this crash, I as you say, people talk about it. I think people are preparing for it. And what's going to change is doing exactly what we are doing. And I feel that we are really leading learners in this field, where we can help them with business development, with the support, and we can magnify what they do, which is great, and connect them with the right people. But we also need to help them follow up increased demand. They need to have the organization to do that. They need to know how to turn that traffic into proper, financial income so they can survive and thrive. So I think what we're doing.
Okay, so look, you've got a whole bunch of right. So you got a whole bunch of links that you've dropped in here. You've kind of said, I want to show what's going on and hear your take on it. So, but what I'm really interested in is, it sounds like you're trying to figure out what your product model is, right? So just what is it you have at the moment? What's the feedback you're looking for at the moment?
Yeah, so the feedback is basically an update. And it was actually something that Hans Roslings, the Olaf who was there yesterday, he said something, and I just got this tingle in my whole body. And he said sometimes you have to change, because Hans Rosling was a doctor. And then to really get the results he wanted, he actually had to go from being a doctor to actually educate. That way he could get a bigger results. And what's happening with my journey is that my mission is to, it's like I've written there, inspire, educate, and empower. And so inspiration we're doing now through these socials and bringing people together and speaking and talking and also highlighting great people that people can also model from. The education is bringing them the tools through Genius U and Entrepreneurs Institute. That's the educational part, paired with my business degree that I have and leadership and management. And the empowerment is the financial empowerment, where we've partnered up with Connecting Group to support them also creating foundations and matchmaking communities on the financial side. So right now my income streams are the ticket sales, obviously not yet so big from the socials. We're going to bring in sponsors as well. But it is from speaking and from training. It is from doing debriefs as a flow consultant with talent dynamics and wealth dynamics and all of that. And also to get a kickback from that Connecting Group collaboration whenever people sign up to have a foundation or get money through that. So that's where I am right now.
So what is that? So what is that the collaborations with what's the name of the company?
Connecting Group.
Connecting Group?
Connecting Group.
And what's the product they actually offer, and how much does it cost?
3 different products. They've got a digital platform where they help you apply for grants, and they have a global database, and they help you to optimize your grant applications, and they are very cheap. I don't know in dollars, but it's under 2,000 Swedish krona. The second thing is the matchmaking bank, and you will pay not so much per month, and that way you can also matchmake funders and investors with projects and foundations and companies and projects. So that's the second level. And the third level is if you if you want to create a foundation, so then they can go in and help you do that, but also how to run that and to optimize it. So that is that business model. And they are sold and they are good. Mm-hmm. So is there any revenues coming in from the promoting event side at the moment? Yeah, it was actually yesterday. I realized I actually made a little profit. It's not much because they are providing now for the venue at Epicenter, and I had a promotional partner. So I mean, it's almost like break even. But last time I paid, I had a big cost. But because of what Michelle told me, to sign up people for mentorship afterwards and to bring them into our community. So I have now several meetings booked up with the plan to then generate an income. And I'm creating a promotion plan for Q4 to monetize and set even clearer goals for the socials so that I can report back that they actually generate an income for me. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I feel very strongly that this is what I want to do, and with the arts dynamics and you know, within the artistic, but it's the same artistic, creative, impact driven. It's the same energy. And yes, I do have my background in music and the arts, so it makes sense for me to continue working and supporting them. And I've also been asked to come in as a trainer at a university, at a school. So right, that's also going to be
all right. Okay. Okay, Sophie, thanks for all the description. I'll go through my thoughts as to how to streamline what you're doing. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great. Okay, let's come over to Jane Glenn. Highlight, we are getting some traction finally, still behind on promotion plan, but we have a plan of action and things are moving. So us and the team are creating our online presence, which is really cool. Our focus is on Magnetic Minds launch event for 30 guests and EFT sales. Awesome. So, number one, how relevant is the website nowadays? I believe it's necessary as people still use Google, but to what length do you go to share everything on it? It's just a landing page type site. And then Magnetic Minds is easier, but Magnetic Storm is a bit more complicated, and I really feel it needs to be short, sharp, and simple. How do you cut through clutter? Number two, what is the best online system used as a server for storing docs? Would you choose Dropbox or Google Docs? Okay, so that's a pretty straightforward question. So I will, I'll just ask, like, with that focus on the launch event, 30 guests, entrepreneur, fast track sale, all that kind of stuff. How confident are you feeling on a 0 to 10 scale of getting the results right now? What would you say on that one? Hey, Jen.
Do you know? Hi, everybody. The interesting thing is Magnetic Minds is getting clients without us doing anything. We haven't got anything.
Awesome.
We haven't even we've got a letterhead. We've just had business cards done, and my PA said to me yesterday, we're going to need to free up some other days and cull some other things that are happening because you've got no more coaching time. So it's happening, which is fantastic. So actually, Glenn and I had a meeting this morning. We've just got the Ports Festival with Magnetic Storm, which is a massive festival, and we need to be involved in that to a certain point. But what we were saying is I actually think what our focus needs to be right now is on EFT and making that work more so than, because Magnetic Minds is getting traction. And yeah, we're almost doing the launch of Magnetic Minds to fit into the promo plan to please Michelle than to actually do it because we think I'm dead serious. That's the honest truth. And it's right. But right now there are other things. And I think that EFT for us in PE will gain better traction for Magnetic Minds than a launch to 30 people.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Right? Yeah. So I think we actually just got to choose our focus and say that it is what it is. Let's do one thing really bloody well. We've already sold, 4 tables there that they've bought, paid, and done. We've got partners on board. So that's happening. So if we can put our focus in there and do it really well, I think that will in itself be a great launching pad for Magnetic Minds anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
But in the meantime, we've got this business. We're doing invoicing from halfway from here, and we've got proposals going out there, and I need a system, and I just need to know what is the best online platform to create, hence my questions. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Fabulous. All right. Thank you very much to Jane. Cool. All right, that's great. I'm going to answer the question, do you need a promotion plan when you've got already lots of business coming in? Okay, so let's come over to, we have Daniel and Christina next. Highlight, conscious decision for Daniel and I to join forces, combine both our efforts into all we do, the bonsai effect of cutting off the branches that don't serve us today to focus on the branches that do and make them strong. Also GS London, both spent more time outside the room than inside for the first time, great connections, deeper conversations. Daniel's in Argentina at the G20 Summit as part of the UK delegation of 18, which is amazing, representing genius schools and Wealth Dynamics entrepreneur profiling, which is being received amazingly. So this is Daniel, who basically was running like a security company, now then saying, right, I'm going to go out there and actually be known as a speaker, as a trainer. And now he's gone to the G20 Summit with, like, UK's delegation of 18 as one of the people who's representing transformation in the world, which is like so great. Okay, so big questions. As we combine our forces, we have our own individual brands plus a company brand. With awareness of the personal brand, product, and company triangle, how are we best to manage this transition? put all of our attention into the company now and our personal brand to just flow along the side, or should we be cultivating our personal brand to gain added leverage? So yeah, definitely, I will answer that question. My one question, well, let me start with a question I asked the others as well. Just the experience, you did have a whole different experience because you were outside the room, you're making connections and so on. But what would you say was like biggest highlight for you, Christina? Oh, you're on mute, by the way. You gotta unmute there.
There we go. Hello, hi. Yeah, definitely. I think for me, it was the same as what everyone else has said, is this just reconnecting with people. And it really feels like after this was our third now summit, and it just feels like coming home and connecting with people and having great conversations and really getting some good business done and connecting with people. That was probably the biggest thing. And the same as what Richard and Kerry were saying, like bringing some people that we're working with part of our team down and letting them to experience it. That was incredible.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, lots of people were doing that actually, which is really, really cool. Let's talk for a second about the company. Like, obviously, on the one hand, Daniel's still talking about Source, but then on the other hand, you've also got like the company now, which is going to be doing much more on the transformation side. Have you put a name to that company yet?
Not yet. So Source is going to be very much based separate to itself. So that's going to kind of be, but what we've realized is that with myself, with the psychotherapy and the coaching and doing more from a life coaching perspective, and then Daniel with the business element and transformational, and just combining the two forces together, I can see with my clients, they could really benefit from Daniel's input, and his clients can really benefit from mine to really go deeper. So it's bringing that together, and as well kind of connecting in the work that we're doing with you, because obviously Daniel's now a master trainer, so it's bringing in that plus B1G1. We really want to bring in more of that element, and the Ataru. We've got a lot of balls in the air right now, and it's it's like we've got all these incredible products and all this amazing opportunity. How do we piece it all together so that it's something? Do we even need a company, or do we just kind of run with the products that we've got and just be us, or do we start to build something that is us? I think that's kind of the question that we've got mussing around our mind at the moment. So it'd be good to get some insight from you on that.
Awesome. Okay, cool. All right, Fabs. Okay, I will come back to you on that. Christina, fabulous.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, cool. All right, let's come over. Next, we are going to come over to Lucas, right? So Lucas has got here, highlight is hide external companies to create a new UX design. Still struggling with timelines on our MVP. However, the app is looking great, and no questions for this month. So Lucas, I have one question for you. Based on timelines, and like the biggest thing I was saying is start queuing up your clients. Know who's going to be your first client. Get them already saying yes. Even getting them prepaying to be part of your client if you want to, right? And actually start that consultation process, like working that through. How's that looking right now? Do you actually have that lined up at the moment, and have your timeline shifted at the moment?
Yeah. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, based on whatever time zone you're on. So to answer your question, the product and the segment we're targeting, none of the clients, because they are government-funded organizations, hospitals and ambulance services, none of them would actually prepay anything. So that is kind of the challenge. However,
sure.
They are really. I have 3 entities and three customers lined up. 2 ambulance services, 1 hospital, and they're really pushing. On the other hand, as I discussed with my partner, we don't want to release a product that will change dramatically based on the UI UX changes we're doing. So I'm still kind of fighting off the push from a customer saying, hey, when is it going to be released? Can we have a pilot with you? Says, yes, you have a pilot with us. We're starting towards end of this year. I didn't give them a firm timeline to give a little bit of a buffer for myself, but that's where we are. On the other hand, I think that's a key learning from this training, from this course, is to use external resources, not try to do everything by yourself. Because I think, and we spoke about it during the evening of the first day, I believe, in London. The team I have hired, the external team, they're doing an amazing job. The app is absolutely gorgeous looking, fantastic. And the development team I have hired, compared to my developers who are overwhelmed with work, they're also, just additional resource, and they have the time and focus. So we are moving forward to really in a really good speed. However, that customer facing part is still it's a bit a challenge to push a little bit back those customers and say, I do not want to release the product because the first impression will actually count.
Okay, I got it. Alrighty. Okay, well, I know you got no questions right now, but I'm sure there'll be things on this call that will be relevant. So let's see how that timeline rolls out, right? Okay, thanks. I'm going to come over to Lewis. Next, we have got Lewis's highlight. The largest part of our business is now stable with a core staff team that are operating at the level required to manage the business without need for us to step in, which is awesome. A huge step forward for us. We're starting to see results from our digital marketing, which are focused on recruitment of care staff at present, and finding the targeting from Facebook is more accurate in terms of candidate suitability, which is actually often the case. In fact, some of you might have seen Facebook just launched the very first test on Facebook dating as well now, where they're actually going entirely into that, and they've got all of Colombia, which we're actually doing this with. Cost per candidate we move forward in our recruitment pipeline is around $3.50. £3.50, that's pretty ridiculous. Understanding this metric is key for us and allow us a level of oversight we haven't had before. So that's really solving that one problem that the company had before, which is getting enough of the carers in, right? First Living Carer has now started delivering care to our first customer. We continue to learn and shape that. Monthly turnover has now exceeded £100,000 a month. This time last year was at 43,000. So you tripled your revenues in a month, in a year, which is great. We've also created our culture code. It's been hugely positive experience. So pretty good progress. Okay, questions. Number one, please help us review the landing page for our new promotion. So I've got that here. What action can we take to ensure that we step away from the business without another false move? What are we missing? And number three, Gavin struggles with getting into flow and the Lord Star relationship. Well, I'm assuming that's Gavin we have there right now, because it doesn't look like Lewis.
Yeah, I don't look like Louis. And Louis unfortunately not very well today. So we're hoping that we'll both be on these calls in future, but it's me today. Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, awesome. Well, let's start with the third one then, Gavin. The whole thing about struggling with getting into flow. You can tell us without him being here.
Well, he's in the room.
And he's got a recording.
Full transparency, as we're partners as well. Yeah, I do. I guess that. So as a Lord, I like to be in control. I like to be prepared. And as a star, Louis is quite spontaneous and, a million ideas a day, etc. So the roles that we have in the business is Louis is the kind of visionary, and I'm more of the integrator. So I take more of the kind of chief operating role. And I find sometimes that the star-lord relationship just takes me out of flow too often. And so one thing that we're kind of looking at or exploring at the moment is I'm kind of saying to Louis, I actually think you need to step out of the business now to allow me as the Lord to do my job. Because I think that the Louis' tendency as a bit of a visionary is that he will kind of, meddle sometimes. And, I can't do what he does. I don't have the vision. I'm not able to come up with some of the creative ideas that he's got. But what I can do is once I've understood it, I'm able to operationalize it. I'm able to make it happen. And so I think we're at that point with the business that we've had some great highlights. The business feels much more stable. You'll notice, Roger, as well, that some of our challenges, we've had some key staff leave, and yeah, that's forcing us to step back into doing a job. But it's got to the point now where, Louis and I are civil partners. We spend a lot of time in each other's company. We're running a high pressure business. And it's got to the point now where I feel that for me to get back into flow, Louis and I need to think of a different way of how we work together.
Got it. Okay, awesome. That's very well said. And I'm actually reversing your order of your three questions. So I'm going to get to all of them. I'm actually going to start with that one because it kind of leads into the other two as we go as well. So I've got that here. So thanks very much. And we'll come back to you as well, Gavin. All right. Awesome. Cool. All right. So let's come over next to, we have Piva here. And the highlight, blank highlight, and lots of questions, right? I'm going to come back to the highlight. Got here, like the focus is like increase the number of members from 500,000 on the educative site, and you got the link to the site here as well. So I'm going to drop that down. So we have that here as well. And then let's go into the questions. So number one question, is it a good idea for our participants paying 1 krona for free versions? We're preparing a free version. Why? If people will pay 1 krona, we have contact people, credit card information. We're sure that person really wants to try our website. So is it worth actually just taking someone's details? Is that a good strategy? So good question, right? Number 2, is it a good idea to give them a budget silver version or our best gold version? We're preparing silver, gold, diamond, and all versions. We have only gold now. Why? We're afraid about downloading. There's 400 examples. Is our wealth, is our content, or is it better giving them gold version limit for downloads? And number 3, should we do something for 10,000 free registered people or not? After asking which recommended me, Roger, now 10 people, we know that our product is great, 9.5 out of 10. And our ratio, people who paid versus free registration is only 5%. We said optimum is 10%, and maybe means that we need new registered people. So 3.1 question, which is really for what should we do for ex-members? Should we make any better price action or anything like that as well? Okay, so good promotional questions in terms of your launch. So let me do this first of all. Given that it's your first call on the Emerald call, I'd love it if Peva, you could first of all share with everyone what your business is and what your biggest goal is for this coming year. Oh, and if you unmute bottom left there, you still got to unmute there, Peva. Wait, don't get into too much. There you go. Start again. We still can't hear you.
Yes, I'm here. And do you want to know more information from me?
I would like you to share with everybody I'd like you to share with everyone about what your business is and what your biggest goal is this coming year.
Yes, I'm a counter and tech advisor, and we have a website, educative website for every accountant, and we have annual membership. And in this time, we have I was in Bali 1 month ago. It was awesome for me. And in this time, we have only 1 version for membership. And my task from Roger was prepare more version. And in this time, we are preparing more version. Yes, and it's okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, in this time we have 400 participants who paid money and 10,000 participants free. Yes, and we are. It's not good. It's not good result. 5% only, and we want more person. We pay money, and I think we gave many information. There are articles, examples, tables, many information, and Roger want that I asked about how their people are satisfied, and people are very satisfied too. People who paid money are very satisfied. I was surprised, very surprised, because I rated about 6 from 10, and people gave our 9, 10. Yes, I was very happy from that, but I don't know exactly what we have to do more, other steps. Yes, and
all right.
Things is prepare more version. Yes, and my question, the first question is good idea the free version absolutely free on one crown? It's absolutely nothing. Yes, if it's a good idea or not.
Yeah. No, I got it. So I got the questions. Let me ask you a question, which is with the version. So I'll answer those questions you've got, but with the version, like the fact that you've actually got 1 version right now, have you worked out what pricing you want to do for your versions yet?
How much money?
Yeah, like for silver, gold, diamond.
14,000 crown a year.
For which one? For the silver?
For gold. We have only one.
Yeah.
Now, yes, and people pay 14,000 crowns. Yes, it's gold. There is everything now.
have you decided what pricing you want for silver and diamond right now?
Yes, we are preparing silver. There will be less information and student version and free version, and the diamond version. There will be some speaking similar as you now. Yes, for my people. Yes, and the last version will be absolutely all. Every seminars, every books, all in. Yes.
And pricing? Pricing
all in will be 90,000 crowns. Diamond will be about 45,000 crowns.
And silver?
Silver about 7,000 crowns.
Okay, got it.
And students about 2,000 crowns. Yes.
Okay.
We want to give this version to university and share with many people. Yes.
Okay.
But we are preparing now.
Okay. And did you say, have you actually already gone out and promoted more of the free or not yet?
No, we have no prepared free version right now.
Right now, no, but we go. But idea was, if it's absolutely free, or it's good idea, one class. There will be people who really want the information. It's a good idea, one class is nothing, but we have name, phone, company, yes. And
we have verified person. We're sharing that we have a lot of information, and in premium version, they will download everything and leave it.
Yes, it is the second question is the same as the first question, because if we will give them silver or gold. Yes, I have there 400 examples. It's my goal. Yes, and I'm afraid that people download everything. It's okay. Be afraid of that.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Okay, good. All right. And then also I'm getting your thing on what to do with your 10,000 free. Okay, got it. All right, I will answer all your questions. Thank you. Good to have you on here. And just so everyone knows, Ava's company is all on accounting, right? So it's actually helping companies with their accounts. And she's just got this massive group of people that love what she does. And it's about how to monetize that in the right way, right? So that's what we want to get to. Okay, fabulous. All right, let's continue. And we are just going to complete before we jump into all of this. Pedro, you can mute again so that we don't get the background noise. But thank you. We're going to finish with Alex, who's got here this month. Highlight has been fantastic in relation to building our property development pipeline and brand for Zusa. This month has been a great journey in the life of Zusa, the business which has culminated in multiple meetings with local councils relating to complete redevelopment of their respective towns and infrastructure. Wow, that's pretty awesome. This included being requested to bid on a large redevelopment opportunity within a major town in the UK, which includes 110 units, a hotel, and 20,000 square feet of commercial. Well, that's growing a bit bigger. In addition, I'm looking to kick off a fantastic joint venture opportunity for a large-scale conversion of a historic building in Aberdeen for 101 units. Still early stages, but very exciting. And also GS 2018 and meeting the other crystals, getting a light bulb moment on wealth dynamics and questions. Okay, number one, how to create a bigger impact within the social media community to help spread the business. I've provided a lot of relevant and free content on building my social media footprint, both organically and through paid ads, but I don't feel I'm getting traction and engagement. Should I be doing something like microdegrees, increase of free lines, PDFs, etc.? At the moment, my goal with social media is to increase our brand identity and attract private investors. Number two, I'm now set up the Zusa Island branch with a co-founder who is a creator, which is important to our goal for a larger international reach. What would be the 3 or 4 key items for setting up a startup like this while still growing the existing brand in the UK, and how to manage a mechanic creator, star creator relationship? And finally, what are the most important things to consider when setting up a joint venture agreement, and what should I do to ensure that joint venture runs smoothly and that our business interests are looked after? Okay, great. Fabulous. Okay, so Alex, first question is just, would you like to share whatever is your biggest highlight from the London event?
Yes, good morning, guys. Good to hear from you all. So yeah, fantastic event. Roger, really enjoyed it. You know, I spoke at the Crystals drink that we had at the end anyway. But I think there was a lot of highlights from it. Meeting Paul Dunn from B1G1, see how we can work with them was a really good takeaway. So I'm exploring that now separately. I think it was mainly the relationships that have developed from that. So obviously, this was the first summit for myself. And first time I really got a chance to meet other crystals face to face. So I've seen them on the calls and in the group, but then I had to, having a chat with them. you know, and speaking with Daniel as well. And so, you know, talking about potentially him being a technology partner with USA, with what we want to do with the smart homes. So we had some really good conversations around that. Obviously with Paul Dunn, and also with John Masters, who I actually scheduled a call with right now. So I've had to reschedule that one. So that was my bad. But speaking to him about how, you know, what they're doing in their augmented reality can actually fit with our strategy with selling off plan, and how we can do maybe a partnership with that. So we're actually exploring that now about how we can have some synergies there. So I think for me, it was these partnerships and relationships building, that whole process, which was the biggest takeaway from myself. A really, really good event. I loved it.
Awesome. Fabulous. Very cool. Very cool. Tell us about your joint venture partner in Ireland. Like how much trust has been built over what period of time?
So I know this guy for 10 years. So we're very, very close friends. And I approached him because I wanted to obviously increase the footprint, and the goals, the ambitious goals I had to start needed to be moved outside the UK. I thought maybe I'm pushing it too far, but this was a good opportunity within the Irish market for property. What we're doing in the UK, what you find is Ireland lags the UK by about 4 or 5 years in terms of legislation from the property side. And they're about to do what the UK did back in 2015 with relaxing in the planning laws. So what we're doing with commercial conversions, etc., is about to hit the UK. And I saw that was a really good opportunity where we are to kind of hit that market running. So I kind of approached him, who he has a lot of contacts and has established himself about doing this as a joint venture, or basically setting up USA, taking the brand and our model and getting it going over there. He's obviously a creator mechanic star, and I'm a star creator as my profiles. So when we talk, we can talk for hours about how fantastic all these opportunities and ideas are, but you know, I do realise that there's deal makers and lords needing to be in the room at some point to kind of make sure these things get off the ground. But I just wanted to know, like, how to kick that start off without losing too much of my own vision about UK, because ultimately that's what's going to bring the bread home. But I'm keen to keep this going because I see this as really big potential.
What do you see that it's going to be more him finding investors, or more him finding the actual deals?
Yeah, so initially, what I'm doing is I'm getting him to shadow what I'm doing. So he's coming to UK, he's just sitting in with meetings, speaking with my investors. You know, we're explaining what's going on. He's just in the background and learning. So I'm kind of bringing the model. I can use some of my own personal investors, you know, if there's a deal, right? But initially he's setting up the business and the contacts and the face of Ireland out there and finding deals as well.
Okay,
so
and
I'm trying to...
How far have you gone down the line of talking about equity or anything like that right now?
Yeah, so I mean, I was quite honest right up front, because he was like, well, how do you see this? I said, well, for me, it's 50-50, but it will be USA Ireland. So what I'll do is I'll have USA UK, that will be 50%, and you will have 50% of the Ireland branch. And it will be separate entity from the USA UK. I said, from now, I'm building this. You haven't really got all the knowledge or the influence to be saying that, okay, you can have a piece of the, you know, this main pie. Said, I am looking for a business partner. I'm not going to promise anything, but you know, we can have a chat after we've done the first deal and we see how we work together. So that's very key that we didn't, you know, weren't going in trying to split the pie when we haven't even done one project together. So for me, it was get one project done first. If it worked well, I'm sure it will, but then we can then talk about the rest of the bits and pieces.
Got it. Fab. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, thank you, Alex. I will jump in and answer all these different questions now. Okay, guys, we're a little ahead of schedule, and we're going to jump into the meat of the call now. Here is all the details. And for those of you, like, we have some new people, like, you know, obviously Paver's new. Alex is actually normally on Emerald 2 call, but is on this call today. So what I'll do is I'll just give everyone a bit of an overview on the different people. And obviously Christina has been on for a long time, Daniel, but actually Daniel's usually the one who's speaking. So it's great to have Christina here, giving the other side of the business. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, just share with you, you know, just basically the different sites. So here's T-Shirtify, which is all part of Richard and Kerry's site. Like here's From Student Productions, which is the original site from Sophie. We've got here like some other posts. I posted these down. She actually put these all in as different things to go have a look at. Here's Christina's website. So we're going to talk a bit about branding, personal branding, and how that links with company branding. Here's Beyond Home Care with the actual landing page that we talked about. I'll actually open the other page as well, which is just a normal Beyond Home Care one without the actual landing, so we can see the difference there as well. And then we will also, I'll just link that down to, I'm posting all of these on the Facebook page on here under this one here, which is the Emerald links. All right, so it's all part of this at the moment as well. Okay, and then I also had here, here's Piva's page, right? So here it is. And then here also is Zusa, right? So, and with Zusa also, one thing in the past, and I really recommend this for each of you now that you're at green level, is really get your pitch deck together and basically have your summary. And this is what Alex put together on his pitch deck on Zusa, which is really clear about what the company is, who's in the company, what it's all about, all that kind of stuff as well, what the problem is and what the solution is, and so on. So let me share with you the actual theme of the call. There is really one big theme, which is fairly similar to the call we had yesterday on Emerald 2, which is green level 1, which is really getting solid on your product range and on your team, right? To really make sure you got the right team that can scale and that you've actually got really solid on what the product range looks like with that as well. So we've got Joel, who's talking about that in terms of his, the new kind of pathway forward. We've got Lucas. This is not Lucas's question, right? This is like him saying, actually, in terms of moving that forward, this is separate. And we had Lewis and Gavin, which is all around this. With Alex, it's also around that, but he's also asking a bit of a question around personal branding as well, right? And where does that fit in? So I'm going to kind of start and then finish here as well. Christina's actually asking a question which links to all three, which is why I'm going to start with Christina and then link that to then how that links in with each of the others as we go forward as well. So I'm going to start with Christina and then come to Alex. And then from there, we're going to lead into two, which are much more around when you're designing your product range, what does that product range actually look like, right? And because Peter's question is a lot around this as well, I'm actually going to switch this to yellow too, so we can kind of see that that whole product range is designed in the right way. So just as a reminder, when we're taking, yellow 2 is all about, yellow 1 is all about your identity. So it's all about identify your identity. So we've got that one, which we're going to just touch on briefly. We've got yellow 2, which is going to be much more detailed. We don't normally go into yellow 2 a lot, which is about your product range. And this one is all about master your market. And then we have got yellow 3, monetize your moment, where we really don't have anyone talking about their promotion plans right now. Well, I guess you could say Glenn and Jane were a little bit. So I'll make this green. We talk about green 1, but I'm actually, because they're doing a promotion plan, but does it fit in? So I'm going to still leave it there in green 1, and you'll see why that links in. But then we have green 1, which is establish your enterprise, which is where most of these questions are. And no one's really getting to green 3 yet, right? So it's kind of in that level where we're going to be talking. Always remember that at the end of the day, if you first lane of the highway, lane 1, yellow, this is all about having a pathway, an automatic pathway to your customer, right? So it's your customer flow, right? Which is all about your product pathway. Because if you have a customer flow and a product pathway and it just naturally goes, then that first lane is then going to be driving, right? And that's going to give you basically cash flow, and it's going to give you basically the base for the business. Then you can then start growing lane 2, right? Which is green level, which is all about talent flow, right? It's about your team, right? And this is always going to start with your partner pathway, right? Partner pathway first, because your partners will grow before your team grows. It's easier to go out. If you're at yellow level, you're going to be surrounded by orange level people. Those are people that are just doing what you tell them to do. So you can't rely on those people to then actually get up to yellow level. But if you bring partners on, and those partners are yellow level people, well, then it allows you to move up to green much faster than going out. So it's like if you're going to do an event, you can either go and hire someone to do the event and then try and teach that person who you've hired to do the event to then actually be good enough that they're managing the P&L, they're managing all of that. And unless they're green level, which means you're paying them a lot of money, they're not going to know how to do all those things. But you partner with someone who knows how to do events, you're going to learn all this stuff, and you have to manage them because they know how to manage themselves, right? So it's way easier to get to green level through your partner pathway than basically just going out and hiring people, right? And be thinking, how am I actually working with others, where the question is not how do I make money, is how do I help other people make money? And the easiest way to help other people make money is help partners make money first. and then help others. So when we get back to Alex, we're going to be kind of touching on that, because it's like really super important as like the first step, right? And then lane 3, when you finally get to that, is blue level, which is your capital flow, right? It's like assets. It's like moving things your way, right? This is all about your investor pathway, right? Which is like, okay, what am I doing to actually make an investor see that by giving me money, they're actually going to be on a pathway to actually do what they want to do, which is to actually get a return on their investment, right? So what does that look like? So we're not covering that on this call. We're not actually covering, that much of the first one. We're going to touch on it so you can see how those link together. First thing, very important, right? I'm going to come with Christina here, is we have talked about the brand triangle. I'm going to give you a recap because it's so important, because it's what allows you to then actually scale these 3 things. So here is the brand triangle. And this was Christina's question, like we've got personal brands. How important is it to have a company? The answer is it's actually very important to have a company, because the company is what you're going to be building equity in. Because you can't really build brand equity in your own brand. It's not something you ever sell, but you can sell shares in a company, right? You can't sell shares in a product. You can share a product, but you're always going to be using the company as the vehicle which you're going to be building capital in. So you want to make sure you've got a company. Having that company and how you then present that company, which was Jane's question, is a different question. We will come to that in a moment. But your personal brand should always have a personal site, right? So you have to separate your personal site. I'll just say site. You have to separate your personal site from your company site. Why? Because if you try and make them the same, like, so for example, if you go to Piva's site, right? It's difficult to know, is this, because there's Piva, right? So it's like, is this a company site? She's got her name at the top. Is this a personal site? The reality is right now, this is a personal site. It's about her, which means she's not going to get a lot of people buying things from this because people don't want to come to a personal site to buy stuff. They come to a personal site where there should be one objective, which is that you're building rapport, you're building conversation. So a personal site is all about conversation. So as an example, if I go to, let's say, my personal site, right? So let me just go to, Roger James Hamilton, right? So you'll see that the whole thing is not trying to sell you anything. It's basically just telling you about, me. Connecting to an internal website is interesting. I'll open this in here. Yeah, I'll try and open it here as well. Okay. Oops. There we go. So this is about actually you making sure that you're actually sharing about yourself. This is the weirdest thing. Well, that's strange. Can you, hey Luke, can you see where Suraj is? Is he around at the moment? Or can you message him and say something really weird is happening with my personal website? Because it's actually got something which says it's gone to Apple IPS. Don't know why that is. Maybe that's just mine for some reason. But if I was to take, any example of someone, like let's say, for example, Marie Folio, right? If I go to Marie Folio, her personal site is all about her, who she is, what she's about. And so the whole thing is about like a conversation about her, and you can find out more about who she is. You can find out about like where you can find out more about her, Oprah and Marie, Richard Branson interview. It's all about conversation, right? So that's the very first thing. Second thing is you're then going from personal, which is conversation, to a second site, which is actually important before you get to company, right? Company is going to be important, but the thing that's actually even more important than that, which is here, is your product site. So your product brand is basically where you actually make money. It's because people don't buy a person, they don't buy a company, they buy a product. So your product site, which you can have for different products, you've got different product sites, is all about conversion, right? So conversion is about something totally different from conversation, right? It's about, are people actually buying from you? And if you're actually doing a launch and you don't have a site that you can actually convert with, then you just can never generate the revenues, right? And then the third site, which is the company site, this one is all about now credibility, right? It's a third C, which is like if people come to your site, do they go to it and go, oh, look, that's something which I should be interested in, right? Because and I can even sign up for it potentially. So if I go to something like Genius U, then on Genius U, you'll see on this site, it's like world's #1 entrepreneur education platform. You can see like what it's all about. You can see how many people are on it. You can see like how much is enrolled. It's all, this is not the main way people join Genius U. They don't actually come here to join. They're largely coming in as a result of one of our sites like Wealth Dynamics, for example, or a site like, the Genius Test. And then from there, they end up in Genius U. So being really aware that you want to have all three of those different types of sites is like super important. And in the case of Christina, she's got her personal site. So let's just have a look for a second. on the personal side here, that would be this one. And you can see it's all about conversation. You can follow her on Facebook, on Twitter. It's all about her. So she's not going to sell something on the site. It's not about her having to be credible. It's about her being approachable, which is a different thing, right? That's what we mean by the conversation. To actually take it one step further and have actually your latest tweets or latest Facebook posts on here, then actually allows people to actually get connected up as well, which is kind of what you're doing here with the blogs and stuff, which is great. So you don't really need to do anything different on your site here because you're already doing it, other than link it to your company sites, right? Or link it to your product site. So people actually go, I want to know more. They can actually go link into those in the same way. Someone like Marie, you can actually go and find out more about what she's up to and what she's doing, and actually say, well, what is B School, right? And then you click on that, and that will then take you through to this page, which is her site on basically her business school, where she's telling you about it. Welcome to B School. Here's like testimonials. How does it work, right? Here's what you get for it. Like, should you take it, right? And off the back of all of this, if you go, oh yeah, I should, and she's not actually even selling this at this point, right? You can't actually even join it. You can read reviews and things, but she only opens this once a year for people to join, right? And then she does this thing where she has scholarships and things like that as well. But you can see this, like this is what people will go, oh, when can I actually become part of this? But you can't even join it right now, right? So this is like, the critical thing is that you've got your personal site. You definitely want to set up your company site, right? You want to do that. And so decide, with Daniel, what your company name is going to be, and then decide, okay, what's the new first product we're going to go for? And once you actually design your product range, which is what we're about to get onto, the moment you got that product range in place, then it's like, great, now I actually know exactly what are the steps and what I want to take as well, right? Let's go from that thought into actually then, well, what do the actions look like the moment you start stepping into it? Like if you're starting to think, for example, about your product brand. And by the way, when I say yellow 2, for those of you who are maybe wanting to go deeper into any of these areas, always know that you can go onto Genius U, and on there you will find the micro degrees where you can actually just walk through between now and our next call the exact steps that you want to take, right? So for example, if I go to Millionaire Master Plan, is this the one I want? No, it's not. I want to go to the yellow level one, right? So this one here, you'll see that under the step 2, which is master your market, you can go in here and just take the assessment and see, like here, like have I identified my market size, and either I can fulfill, do I know my 3 biggest competitors, what solutions they're delivering, do I have 3 distinct market segments and the customer avatars for each one? And this actually walks you through, like, what's my promise? And then this leads to, what are my solutions? Have I got market price that effectively tailored for the market? Do I have a way to protect my products as I grow? Have a route to reach my customers for each of those products? So you're actually building your product brand out. And if you actually, and do I have a hot list of my top 20 customers and partners that I have personal connection with, and I know the greatest needs and dreams, you need that before you go to yellow 3, which is running your promotion plan. So this is like the foundation before you get to your promotion plan. And if we actually say, well, who are my competitors? How would I even, like if you've got someone like Richard and he's like, well, I want to use apps. Well, who actually are my competitors out there doing this? So we can go, so we're going to go through with Richard and Karen with Sophie, just the process of going, well, if I've got lots of ideas, what's the right idea? The challenge when you're getting started with something new is your brain will go over time with no context, which means it'll just come up with whatever it thinks is a good idea, not what the market thinks is a good idea. So the best thing to do when you're out there is to go out and see, what does the market think is the best idea? Because that's going to give me better clues than my best ideas right now. And I can then have a context to decide what my best idea is. So think of this a bit like going out and buying a dress, right? Or a shirt or a pair of shoes. You don't kind of sit back and think, what would be my perfect pair of shoes? You go to the shops and you see what's selling, and you see basically which of those is actually your favorite, right? And you choose that. So if we go, for example, to, I'm just going to QR codes and t-shirts. So there's companies out there that are doing this kind of stuff, right? And they've figured out ways to actually, build t-shirts with QR codes, and they've obviously figured out ways to build a market off the back of this as well, which is great. Oh, we've got Jane's as well, right? Cool. I'm going to open Jane's too. So we'll come back to that in a second. And so if we take that line and say, okay, well, let's just go and look. If we search for t-shirt QR code apps, and I just put 2018 so make it easier, and we come to basically news. What's going on here? Amazon is collaborating with clothing brands to make fast fashion. So like, well, that's just 14 September, right? That's like now, to make fast fashion even faster. Amazon collaborating with fashion label Nico Panda on a new See Now, Buy Now initiative for Fashion Week. Show attendees and viewers anywhere to immediately buy the designs seen on the runway. Designs which are being screen printed onto T-shirts by Amazon are part of an app program created in collaboration with queer writer and artist Hilton Dresden. This collaboration is an example of how Amazon is encouraging brands and creators to leverage the merchandise by Amazon programs to capture moments. So if Amazon's doing it, right, making fast fashion even faster, and you go, hey, look, this is what they're doing. They're basically saying, hey, if you really like this thing, then like basically take a photo of this straight away right now, and then straight off the back of it, they're buying that thing, right? So that whole idea of doing that, like if you got a band and the band's got like, favorite song, and you can just take a photo and straight away download the song, right? And pay for the song, or like see a really cool T-shirt and straight away, like this is one of the biggest issues at rock concerts. You want to go and buy the T-shirt, but they don't have stock of it. Whereas if you had the T-shirt, you just, click on, open your phone, open the camera, straight away the QR code shows up. You can just immediately order that T-shirt, shows up the next day, right? It's like, those are things that are going to generate revenue straight away. And you can say, look, Amazon's doing it, right? So this is an example of actually not having to try and figure out what's the best idea. It's going out and saying which ideas already have got traction, right? I'll just take two more examples. You get the idea here. But second one here, how to help homeless people without feeding a habit, right? This is from August this year. So what's this one, right? New scheme called Greater Change lets homeless people crowdfund for concrete goals using a QR code and app. Is this the answer to giving in a cashless society? So like this whole thing here, Greater Change, is where you've actually got, like you're actually using an app on a T-shirt for homeless people that people can then actually help them directly. Pretty cool idea, right? I mean, so this is like another thing where it's like we can go out and we can help people in a particular way. And this doesn't have to be just homeless people. You could do this for a crowdfunding campaign where you've got a really cool idea for crowdfunding and people can immediately go and jump in and actually be a part of it. You can use that to help artists, for example, right? You can do it when people are running an exhibition. Very similar to the fashion idea, but for a different cause, right? You take, let's say, for example, let's take this one here. I'm just going to look for something a bit different. Okay, no, that's past QR codes. Let's look at this one anyway. Visual AI firm wants retail brands to see past QR codes. Most of the popular tool to facilitate, mobile payments. So that's Matrix Bar and so on. And then these guys seeking to know customers better. AIQ is a shampoo manufacturer and app that lets people hover their phone over their scalp in order to determine the type of shampoo that best suits the individual condition. Well, that's kind of interesting. Wow. So you're not even like scanning the shampoo, you're scanning your hair and it tells you which shampoo to actually go for. So this is like one step up from that as well. So like what is the like very late like visual search engine? So effectively what they're doing is they're using not QR codes anymore, but they're using visual recognition to then actually say, oh, this is the thing that you want. So think of it like Shazam for visuals, right? So again, the thing is just going through that search, it allows you to narrow down all your ideas to then actually say, oh, this is the one that's actually the best one to do. And the best part about that is when you then go back to the people you're working with, you're able to say, hey, look, Amazon's already doing this thing, right? But we're doing it better because they're doing it just for fashion. We're doing it specifically for anyone who's got a T-shirt. And then you're going down that route. I think if you go down that route and you start designing that way, I wouldn't worry too much yet about trying to sell the app. I think you're way better off staying focused at using the app in a way that actually sells more T-shirts or sells or helps sell a better service. Always keep focus whenever you can in whatever new products that you're creating. Always keep focus at the question, which is, am I solving my customer's problem better, right? Because too often we say, oh, it's another product. And we say, but it might confuse them. It might not actually solve it better. So if we go back to T-Shirtify, and the very, very first thing on T-Shirtify is the first on-demand merchandisers enabling independent brands and artists to play a bigger game, then it's like, okay, does this help that to happen? And if yes is yeah, it totally does, because now they've got T-shirts that actually allow people to go out there with their favorite, song or music. Or think about like, your illustrator, right? Your artist. Like if they've got artist stuff on there and someone can actually scan and immediately kind of like download the art or order like a similar T-shirt. I mean, that's the kind of stuff which actually is going to really kind of, I think, captures people's imagination. Okay, so always do that. Always be looking out there in terms of what are other people already doing and what are the ways they're doing it. So we come to someone like Sophie, she can do exactly the same thing. She can say, okay, well, look, and that's why having someone like Michelle helping you is really helpful, because you hear what other people are doing as well. When you're running a social, you should be thinking with that social, what are the key things that people are hearing about or wanting to get involved in that I can guide them along on that journey as well. So it's great you're doing debriefs. When we are running, for example, the entrepreneur socials or we're running like the upcoming Wealth Dynamics workshops or Wealth Dynamics or Wealth Spectrum workshops, the whole concept of that is that people go through that, and then off the back of that, they're saying, okay, I want to do more. They have the debrief with you. And from that debrief, there's a package of some sort that you're actually providing to them. Yes, it's good that you've got a package that's coming from your partner. That's fine. But I really think that you should be having a partner yourself as well, right? I think it's really, really important that you've got something that you're doing that's generating money directly for you. So if you said, right, I'm going to have my own mastermind group that I'm going to actually be having people in Sweden that are looking to grow, that could be one. It could be that you're saying, I'm going to actually be really showing people how they can actually effectively grow their business and develop it that way. That could be a second thing to do that as well, right? Hang on, just give me a second for a sec. Hey, Luke. Sorry. Hey, Luke. Hang on a second. I need to move. A bit loud, so I can't. Hang on, I'll try and do this from here. Okay, so hang on, I'm just finding your space here. All right, so the fact that you've already got all of these different people out there who are part of our community, who are in the partner community, who already are starting to do this, where they've got the debrief that then leads into an actual packaged product. And just as a general sense, especially with training, being really aware that people do have a link between the trust that they have, that they're going to get value versus value for money, right? Which means there's going to be a level at which they're willing to do something, and there's always going to be a gradient of that. I'll give you the general numbers as they are today. Level 1, right, is they want to do something free, which doesn't take much time, right? Level 2 is they want to be able to do something which is under $100, right? To try something out, right? Which is easy entry, right? So we had, for example, the Wealth Dynamics test, right? $97, right? So then it's easy for someone to try it out. And you can do this online, right? Because people are then willing to do something online. If you try and sell something for $1,000 online, they will not do it unless they already trust you, they already know you. Otherwise, they're not going to do that, right? In fact, Amazon found out that the actual number for the vast majority of people to just try something is actually under $10, which is why they said Kindle had to be at like $9.99. That number's actually gone up now. People are actually willing to do a higher number now, which is why they don't actually have that same rule anymore. And then you got a level 3, which is someone goes, you know what, I did something, a trial, it actually worked for me. I'm actually willing to do something more like now, right? So you got to have something which is under $300. So that's why a lot of people have things at $297. So it's under $300. And this is something which is basically giving, some of their time, right? Usually like an hour or something that they're willing to give into something, maybe 2 hours, maybe 3, where they're actually saying, okay, I'm willing to do more, but they're actually expecting this at this point to get something personalized, right? Which is why, having something where you actually are doing, like and probably 1 hour is probably a bit short, right? It might be 2 or 3 hours. So we have people that will actually say, yeah, I really trust this enough that I'm going to actually be taking a platinum ticket, right? So we'll have a platinum ticket around that price. You could do it where you actually have a workshop of some sort, right? And then once they've actually tried those things out and said, okay, this is actually something I really, really get now. I now can see the solution going forward, right? Then they're going to go for something level 4, which is going to be like under $1,000 or more, like a 1,500, right? That's roughly the number. Right. And then, of course, level 5, you can go to 5,000 above. People will be willing to pay a lot more if they've done those things. If they're in corporate, right, and they're actually already using bigger budgets, you could already jump straight to something like level 3. But you want to have something at free level, which allows people to still experience your product as well. So let's start with that process by talking, we're just talking, with Sophie on her side. I definitely think you should have something which is the next step up, which can be like a mastermind group for like, $1,000 that people come and join with you. You might only be looking for 10 or 12 people to do that. That puts money in your pocket and allows you to actually really start growing your branding of what you're doing with that group of people. You could also do a workshop, which is obviously the kind of stuff that you like doing anyway, which means you run that event. And you actually have people come along to that workshop, and you decide on what that workshop's going to be, and you invite certain people to come along to it. And so they feel really special being part of that. And then, of course, you can have the high level, which is going to be, when you actually do the production work you do. And I keep it clean. I wouldn't be doing lots and lots of other things. And I wouldn't have them as, I'd design it in exactly the same way that you've seen us do our team charter, right? So our team charter, our latest team charter, or one of our latest team charters is here. So, oh, that's not it. Hang on a second. I'll come back to Partner Pathway. This is our team charter. So we're doing all our reviews right now for our team charters because it's coming up to the end of September at the moment. So here we've got the product pathway. So you don't need to start at yellow level or kind of like beginning of green with multiple different avatars. Like we've got 4 different avatars, right? So like you've got Foundation Fred, who's not really going to spend much of any money. He's just getting started. You've got Enterprise Ella, who's now at a point where she's like building a business. You've got Emerald Ian, who's got like a more scalable business. And we'll have exactly this, like level 5. We'll have this here, like with steps at each level here, middle, low. Our level 5 now is, that's higher. That's like crystal circle, things like that. But these levels are all pretty much following what we've already said here. And to just design it out. And for you, Sophie, to say, right, here's my product range, right? Here's the things I'm going to be offering. Is going to be kind of a critical thing for you to do. Like, let's come over to Pava so we can see how that links in her case. Definitely don't charge 1 krona. It's not about the money. It's about the effort of getting out your credit card, having to give the details in, worrying about what they're going to do with your details, all of that kind of stuff. You'll lose 99% of all the people that come on. And the whole point of the free is what you're really trying to do is you're really trying to give people a way of testing out your value and going, wow, this was really valuable, right? Now, in today's world, you don't need their address or even their email to be able to track them. So you just want to make sure that you've actually got yourself set up, first of all, in such a way that you've actually got your retargeting, captured. So that, and to do retargeting, I mean, the best way to do it really is to use Google. If you got on your website, right? So just basically dropping a pixel, right, for your pixeled audience, and then being able to then, set it up. So all of this tells you exactly how to do this. And obviously, if you have got people who already are doing your online ads for you, that's fine. But you're tagging your site in such a way that everyone who comes to your site, you now have their details to know when they're tuning in, what their computer is dropping a cookie on their computer. And then what happens as a result of this is that it allows you to then retarget all your ads. So when you're running your ads, you're running your ads to all the people who already came to your website. So anyone who actually got everything from you for free, everyone who came to your site, you can track all those people, right? You could get them to actually just click and give the email for you to send them the email download, and you still get their email as well. But between their email and then also their IP or their tag on their computer, those 2 things are all you need to be able to then keep tracking and growing. So we have at the moment close to 4 million pixels. Like that means 4 million different people that have come to our sites that we retarget regularly. And most of our ads are retargeted, as you'll notice, right? If someone comes to our site, you'll see that person then starts to get ads from us. And that's going to be way, way more productive than just going out trying to advertise to everybody. So you can still track everyone, but it means you're not having to try and get credit card details or things when they haven't yet said that you've earned the right to do that. On the second part, which is then, well, how much do you give away for free? The reality is people aren't just looking for content. They're looking for some kind of a community. And so if they have an opportunity to come on board in a way that they could be asking some questions, in a way that and you don't have to be the one doing all of this, right? It could be someone that you get as your community manager who's going to be actually, answering, and where you're taking them through a process where it's not just, here's the download, now it's done, but it's like you're on this process for 3 months, 6 months. Take a system like Kajabi, where Kajabi allows you to be able to set up an entire process. So we've used this quite often in the past. We now do this all ourselves on Salesforce Marketing Cloud, but that's because we're at a much bigger size now. But by basically using something like Kajabi, it allows you to basically set up and design your entire campaign so that you can actually have a course which could be delivered over, let's say, 6 months. It will automatically send the email saying, hey, here's the next level, or here's the next video, here's the thing to look at, here's the information. So when people are getting that, it's not about they're just downloading something. They're part of an experience. And if there's a way that you're actually enabling them to also share, as they're doing this, their experiences, right? Where you have a Facebook group where everyone's coming on the Facebook group and they're all chatting with each other on the Facebook group. You have someone in your community who's going to be just looking after that group, answering any immediate questions people have got. And then that actually gets everyone really as I say, people come for the content, but they'll stay for the connection. They're able to actually get answers to the things that they're actually interested in and so on. You don't want to do that at every level. But the point is, if you've got a certain level of that at gold, and at diamond, you're actually providing even more, well, then you can provide a lot of content at the very beginning, and people will go, wow, this is amazing. I want to be able to apply this. I can see the things that I want to apply, and then you then apply it. I want to give another distinction, which is really, really important about content, which I think a lot of people miss, which is that there's different types of content, and some of them you want to give a lot of, and the other ones you don't, right? Especially if you want people to buy things from you. So if you take the wealth dynamic square, think of the wealth dynamic square as with the 4 parts, where you've got the top, which is all about the what, and you've got the bottom, which is all about the when, right? And then you've got the who, and you've got the how. So if you start with giving all the who and all the how, right? It's like, here's everything, here's all our stuff, right? And here's all the how, here's how you do it, right? It's a bit like somebody. It's like, okay, how do you do your accounts? Here's like the 10 things you need to do in your accounts. Who needs to do it? Like, okay, you got to get this person, your accountant's going to do this part. This person's going to do that part. You show them everything, right? They're going to be full by the time you're done, right? The more you fill with who and how, the fuller someone becomes. It's a bit like, someone going out of their restaurant because they're seeing people going down the street and they're offering some of their food. Can you imagine someone going outside and saying, right, here's what I'm going to offer you. Here's my soup, right? Here's my main course. Here's my dessert. Try it all out. So someone eats it all and goes, that was delicious. That was fantastic. You have the most amazing food ever. Great. Do you want to come to my restaurant to eat dinner? It's like, no, I'm full. It's like you've given them way, way, way too much stuff, which has filled them up. So don't worry about giving stuff to people in such a way that they will steal it, right? Really don't worry about that, because for every one person that's going to steal it, that person wasn't going to actually buy stuff from you anyway, right? But for every one person that's going to steal it, there's going to be many other people that actually want to come in and buy it, especially if there's a connection. So it's not just about the content, right? And also the other thing is that when people steal your stuff with the intention that they're either hoarding it or they're trying to sell it onto someone else, that actually works in your favor. I've had people steal wealth dynamics from the point of view of trying to copy it or trying to tell someone what someone is without actually what it is. And of course, someone says, well, where did you get this from? And it always leads back to me, because with the internet, you can find it really quick. So for example, Nadasit, who looks after us in Thailand, how he found me was he originally started by going to a workshop where someone in Thailand had taken my concept and tried to make it their own concept. And he basically heard about these different things, and he goes, well, this guy doesn't seem to know much about what he's talking about. I'm going to go online. I'm going to find out where this came from. He went online. He found out about Roger Hamilton. He found out about wealth dynamics. He's like, oh, this is where it all came from. Then he contacted us and said, hey, can I work with you guys? He's now our partner for all of Thailand. And of course, as a result of him bringing us in Thailand, the other guy's out of business, right? So don't worry about people stealing your stuff, because it's always going to find a way back. Bill Gates, when he was asked in China, when he was in Microsoft, and he was asked, what does he feel about the fact that Microsoft software is more copied than any other software in China? His answer to that was, well, I'm really glad that it's Microsoft software, which is the number one for being copied, rather than one of my competitors, right? Because it kind of means that it's the best stuff. So just be aware of that. But having said that, coming back to this, what you do want to worry about is giving people so much stuff they get full. Because if you give them too much stuff to get full, even if they love your stuff, they're not going to buy from you anyway, because they've already got it all. So what do you do instead? What you do instead is you actually give them the what and the when, not the who and the how, right? Because the what and the when makes people hungry. So like the what and the when is like actually walking through. So when I show, for example, okay, so here's an example of someone who's used the impact meter, and I'll walk through and it's like here's what happened. The person, started off, they had this level of business. What happened to them is they did this within like 3 months, this within 6 months. Here's the result they got, right? And then of course people go, I want to know how to do that. How do I do that? And then of course the answer is, well, come along with me, because I'm now the who, where I will show you how, right? And then or I'd be saying, look, you went through these like 10 steps. I'll give you an example. Here's the first 3 steps, right? It's like, here's a taste of the soup, right? It's like the first step is this, second step is this. Someone's making an analysis and going, geez, this is really valuable stuff. Like, I totally want to know the other 7 steps. Okay, where do I sign up, right? Because you're actually giving people enough stuff that they actually see the value in it, and they get hungry, but you're not giving them so much that they get full. And this is a really important distinction, to the content that you're giving. And then in terms of your numbers, I think your numbers are great in terms of everything should be about triple or double what it was from the level before. So you're doing that on each of these levels, which obviously, we talked a bit about that. So I think that's really good the way you've done that. So you're on the right track with that. Doing an all-in is a great idea. I've always thought we should be doing that with our stuff, but we never have yet, but it's a great idea. And what to do if you're 10,000 free, you should go to those guys that already are doing stuff with you and do a pre-launch. So the way a pre-launch works, whenever you're launching a book, whenever you're launching new products, you should always go to your existing people and say, hey, we're going to be launching this in January. You're the first to hear about this because you already know our stuff and we love you and we know you love us. And so when this launches, here's what we're going to be launching. Here's what the price points are for what we're going to be launching as well. We'd love to give you an opportunity because we're going to be bringing, 200 or 100 of the people currently that we're working with in early to really get the first taste of everything that we're going to be launching. And at the same time, we're actually going to be doing this at a price point, which means that you're actually going to be saving money based more than the people that come in the future. If you're interested in this, contact us. We'll have a conversation with you. Or if you're interested in this, here's the page to go to book up. Or if you're interested in this, fill out this questionnaire, which tells us what you're most interested in, and then we'll follow up with you. So you can decide whichever one is going to work for your culture with your country. But doing the pre-launch then gets them all excited because they feel special. Even if they don't do anything, they're like, wow, that was really nice that I got a chance to actually do something before everybody else. I feel like I'm already on the inside. And that's what you should do with all the people that already are part of your network. So this is talking about really promotion plan, but based on your products as well. If we go to let's come up to Glenn and Jane. If we go to the question around do you do a promotion plan if you already got lots of business coming in? The answer is yes, you still do a promotion plan. And the reason is because a promotion plan goes way beyond, do we want more business? A promotion plan is about as much the development and learning goals as they are the financial goals. So as an example, if we come back to, let's say, for example, the team charter here, we're obviously busy. We're doing lots of stuff. Let's take something like Wealth Dynamics. So with Wealth Dynamics, we are generating money every month from people just doing the Wealth Dynamics test. But that didn't stop us from putting a promotion plan together for Wealth Dynamics. So why would we do that, right? And it isn't just to increase the revenues of it, right? So we said our summary of this promotion plan for Q3 is launch an engine that runs Wealth Dynamics tests on autopilot by bringing in 1,000 new entrepreneurs in the community through Wealth Dynamics test. Overall objective, generate 200,000 a month, plus grow Talent Dynamics test to find new entrepreneurs in the community each month with an objective of achieving 100,000 a month in online sales. So it's linking Talent Dynamics to Wealth Dynamics to say, hey, that's something we would always wanted to do. We'll use this as an opportunity to make that happen. You've got the problem, the solution, the compelling offer, which is we're going to kind of go out with both offers together. We've got our financial objectives, which is how much we want to be making, and how much of Pixel audience. So we're talking about how many new people are going to know about Wealth Dynamics who don't know about it right now. So we're just setting those as baseline numbers. You can say, well, we could do that without a promotion plan. We can say it's going to happen and just get everyone busy doing it. But the key of these things, right, we've got development objectives, which is that by the time we're done, we want to have grown a strong digital marketing team within the Entrepreneurs Institute, because we have one, but we want to make it a much stronger one. Most of our team has gone off to Genius U. Like Suraj is working in Genius U now, so we're contracting out to him. We want to have our own team inside Entrepreneurs Institute. Develop a clear pathway for test takers to follow for both Wealth Dynamics and Talent Dynamics. We have one. We're going to go back and revamp it. We're going to make it better. Create new content and up-to-date videos, right? So it's like this gives us a chance to say this stuff gets done as part of this promotion plan. So we're all meeting up and saying, okay, have we moved forward on the revenues? Is that giving us money to pay for the videos? That's all together. And then in terms of learning objectives, learn how to scale our marketing while maintaining the same, this is cost per acquisition or cost per customer. So are we designing it that way? Learn how to increase our lifetime value of the customer and on sales for a seamless pathway. Learn how to quickly build digital marketing teams through contractors, which is all part of this one as well. So we're being really defined about what we want to learn, what we want to develop to improve what we're doing. So if we say, well, Magnetic Minds is already getting people coming in. So what would we want to know, given that already people are filling up Jane's calendar, that would allow us to grow? So you could say, for example, well, one of our development objectives is we're going to learn how we can use an event to be able to actually predictably grow new customers. It's like, oh, that's a good thing to do. We'll use Entrepreneur Fast Track as a way for us to learn that, right? So that will be one thing we'll learn in the promotion plan. Second thing, we're going to develop a pathway or develop a team which enables us to actually not have Jane's time be the bottleneck, right? The fact that she's already full up doing this means we can't grow anymore. But if we could actually say we're going to have a team, we have no idea how yet, but we'll just say it's going to happen, right? This is all about saying I'm going to set up I'm going to set up the what and the when, right? The who and how shows up for the what and the when, right? Which most of the time we don't think about it that way, but it really does. And so it's about creating a vacuum where you're not sure how things are going to happen, which then nature fills up. So we say, right, so we're going to basically develop a process or develop a team which allows us to make sure that we have got other trainers that are on board. So it's not just Jane's time, it's their time as well. And they'll be the first magnetic mind trainers. So by setting that out, you'll be amazed. People show up and say, hey, by the way, are you looking for trainers right now? It's like, oh, that fills our gap. Yeah, we are looking for it. But at the same time, like, you're gonna have to come along, shadow us. You're gonna start working it out. And then by the time you get to the end of the 3 months, the promotion plan would have promoted your own level of consciousness, right? It will move you up to green level already, because at the moment you're operating yellow level, where it's like you having to go in there and do the whole job, right? So that's why you need to do a promotion plan, even if it's, just to bring in a little bit more revenues. It really helps you a lot. But you can combine the promotion plan with your Entrepreneur Fast Track. You can do the two together. You can say, well, Entrepreneur Fast Track is part of this promotion plan, right? Which then makes life easier. On the website side, I agree with you. If you've got lots of work coming in right now, it doesn't feel like it's high priority. But to actually have a website which explains what Magnetic Minds is offering is really, really, really great to actually get clear yourself as to what your offering is, right? So we always start by basically having our page, our slides to say what we're offering. Then we turn that into our website, and that'll be our product website, which is there for conversions. Even if someone decides not to buy from there, it makes them we've actually articulated what our offering is for them. So I definitely do that. You guys can all do that. What I'd recommend in terms of simplest, easiest ways, not spending much time or effort at all, because most of you don't need to spend lots of time and effort on your online presence. Simplest, easiest ways, just go to lead pages and just use lead pages, right, as the easiest way. Obviously, if you're using Genius, we've already designed stuff like lead pages, right? So like event pages and so on already like that. But if you design your own landing page, they really just have like sorted out how to make sure that you are getting the most responsive landing pages. And they give lots of examples of them as well. So you can find the right ones, which are right for you, right? Which is great. So it actually takes you through a guide to show you what the best ones are and best examples as well, right? And you can go find those examples pretty easy. Like, it's like if you say, what's examples of the best, our responsive pages, web pages, right? Then like amazing stuff starts showing up in terms of like, 50 best examples, like what they are, how they worked. And you've got them all on here, which actually, again, allows you immediately to get ideas of what other people are doing. And of course, if you're actually going out and hiring, a good person to do this for you, and Suraj is doing this for quite a lot of our Crystal Circle members now. If you go for something like that, then it means you're not having to kind of like, recreate the wheel on the stuff you do. And similarly, if you're just going to go get your own page, WordPress is like a company page. WordPress cannot be beaten. I mean, like, they've got templates for everything. So if you go, okay, I want a WordPress template for a training company, right? And just say, that's what I want, right? Then, 45 best education WordPress themes for training centers, schools. It's just right there. And you can just say, right, well, here's the template I want to use. And if you go through these ones and say, which one do I like best, right? And it's like, you choose one and you say, oh, I like this one. I want to have one exactly like this for Magnetic Minds, right? And that's all I need. Then you just click on it. You go straight to it. You can get your developer, say, just drop that in, get the content down, cost you $59, done, right? I mean, it's just it's all out there right now. You should not be spending a lot of time and money at trying to work it out until you get really fancy, but you don't need to get fancy at the beginning, but you still need to have something. Doing something really, really simple like this just means that the problem's solved, and then you can move on to other things, right? That's what I'd share. Between Dropbox and Google Docs, they do two very different things, right? So Dropbox is great if you've got images. They help you organize them really well. Dropbox obviously become $1 billion business because it's so easy. I have Dropbox up here, where Dropbox here basically syncs everything that I have, right? So basically, I have nothing on my computer. The whole thing is all on Dropbox. As you can see here, I can go to any of my files. They're all on here, right? But basically, as it all goes on here, it all gets synced directly with Dropbox, which means if I lose my computer, I've lost nothing. It all basically is just all on the cloud. So Dropbox is really, really good for storing your own files and just having them on there and being able to share them really, really easily. And so if you think, well, that's all I'm looking for is a way to do that, use Dropbox, right? Because it's way better. Google Docs doesn't do that. However, the reason that in our company we use Google Docs and we don't really use Dropbox, we don't use Dropbox at all. We use Google Docs. And the reason we do that is that we are much more interested in having shared documents we can all work on together. So all the things I've been sharing with you, like for example, our team charter, things like this is all on Google Docs, right? And it basically means that any one of us can go in, we can share it easily, we can actually add things to it as well. And so it's far, far more valuable to do that. So I would definitely recommend, and whenever we have anything, whether it's a Word document, whether it's a keynote, we turn it into something which is a shared document so we can all basically collaborate on it. And from that point of view, like Dropbox doesn't do any of that stuff, right? So Google Docs is way, way better for collaboration. So answer is, if you want something that's going to help back up your stuff, use Dropbox, which is more for personal. But if you're looking for blessing for company, Google Docs can't be beaten because it's free and it gives you all these really super awesome tools to share with each other as well. Okay, so let's go from some of these sharings onto now first of all, I'm going to come back to Alex because his was under the images here, so I get this as well. Best social media strategy for investors is not Facebook, because a lot of investors aren't really thinking about investing when they're on Facebook. So your best social media strategy 100% is LinkedIn, and it's working on LinkedIn in the most effective way. So for example, if I go to LinkedIn and I'm looking for property investors, right? And I'm like, I'd like to actually connect with property investors. I'd like to give them really, really great value. I'd like to actually show them the value of what I can provide. You can just go in here, have a look for property investors, right? And if you go and look at here and you go searching, you can see all these different companies in here. If I just go and look for property investor and I look specifically on here, right? I can look for content and see what people are posting on here. You can see all these people who are property investors as well. I can go to each of these people and connect with each of them individually as well, right? But if I go in here and I just look at groups, you can see on here, you've got like these different groups of people who are property investors, right? Property and real estate investor, 8,000 members. You know, if I say, well, what if I was looking for, UK, just UK, right? Then you got UK Property Investment Network, not so many. You got a few others on here, and I've probably done it the wrong way. If I just do property investor, and I can do a search, and you can do a more advanced search, which is taking you into just UK companies, which will be more of a, so I'm not going to do all the searches now, but you can go in here to do a search on them. You'll find them in here. If I put in property investment, you'll see all these different ones in here. Like this one here, these guys are doing 124,000 members. That's a lot of members, right? Let's imagine you want to go for overseas property investors, right? You've got this network here, 30,000 members. Well, when you go into an investment group like this, right, you request to join, you go in there, you add value, you start having conversations with the people in there. People will notice you, they'll start actually sharing back with you as well. And then once you build your own, you create your own one for Zuma. So you've got one in there. And so then people are joining your one. You can be actually inviting them to come join us as well once you actually started building value up as well. And you've got hundreds of thousands of people in here who already are property investors that will be interested if you've got things to share that are of value to them, right? You start posting, as I have, like within my profile, I'm posting stories on here, which then means people are constantly coming in and looking at my stuff. And so all these different articles on here all get engagement because people are already following anything that's entrepreneur related, right? So you can go to some of these, which really, when they take off, like this one here, for example, which is all about Jeff Bezos and so on. It was just the same as my Facebook article, but it got way more traction, right? I mean, it's like 156,000 views, 4,000 likes, 1,500 shares, 200 comments. And so once you've got people commenting, connecting to your stuff, you could be inviting them into your group as well. And if you go, well, that's way, way more qualified than Facebook, you can say, how do I start automating some of this? You can go and get something like Duck Soup, which actually allows you to automate all of it. It's the best app for LinkedIn, which allows you to actually automatically, if someone does a comment, you can automatically send them a friend request. You don't have to do it yourself. Duck Soup does it for you. If you want to actually then invite them into your group, it can actually do that automatically for you as well. And so it's constantly basically, if you want to go look at people's profiles without even having looked at it, it will do it for you, right? So basically people start spotting you actually being active, even though you might not be as active as as Duck Soup's being, but it allows you to then start actually building a whole following of the right people and the stuff you're doing as well. And if you're really up for doing more on that, you can go to someone like Adam Houlihan, who basically is, in our community, he's like one of the best in terms of LinkedIn. Like everything he does, he can do his free LinkedIn course and just kind of really start perfecting. Any one of you who's doing anything business to business should be using LinkedIn they've done a really good job at actually improving what they're doing in terms of marketing now, right? In terms of joint venture, what you're doing in terms of making sure that you are proving that there's a project that works first before you get into any equity partnership is super important for you to do that. So the fact that you're doing that, I think, is really, really important. The second thing, in terms of the most important things to know about, is it's fine to go 50-50 into something, but that's 50-50 from the point of view of ownership, right? And ownership actually means nothing if the company's making no money. It means nothing if there's no distribution of profits. And so you've got to be aware of what happens before you actually get to the profits, right? So when you actually are coming together, say, like, let's imagine you do a project and it works. He finds the project, you help him raise the money, he puts the money in, you go, that worked really well, and you split half. He'll be sitting there thinking, well, hang on, Alex didn't really do anything there, right? I did everything, I was doing all the work, and so most partnerships break down because people kind of imagine that like they're gonna put equal effort in. And that's never the case, right? And that shouldn't be the case, because at the beginning, it wasn't about equal effort. It was about the fact that you were putting in your brand, you're putting in the model. He was putting in basically, his location in Ireland, and you were both putting in basically your reputations. And that was where you started. Then once you put that in, the next step is who's going to do what. So the most important things in any kind of joint venture as you're getting started, all right, is to be really, really clear, right, that ownership, right, is very, very different, right, from leadership. Leadership is about the management, right? It's about who's going to do what. So this is for you to then agree with him to say, okay, well, when we're doing an actual project, if we're going to do that project, like we can be 50-50. I'll give you an example, like how we work with Joe with Health Dynamics. It's a 50-50 partnership. She's got Health Dynamics. We say, okay, Joe, here's what we're going to do. You can take a salary, right? Now, by the way, in terms of actually taking a salary or so on, you want to make sure that's happening at the right time. So you don't have to get him taking a salary to begin with. You could actually say, when we do a deal, right, whoever finds that deal, right, the whole marketing side, gets like X% on the deal, right? And so maybe it's like, 4% or 2%. You decide what that is, right? To basically for finding the deal, right? Whoever actually manages to get the funding, 5% for the funding, right? And then in terms of actually doing the deal itself, in terms of the legwork for the deal, whoever does the legwork for the deal, the project management, gets 10%, right? And you could say, okay, so that's going to come out of basically the funds that actually make the deal work. And then after that, we're going to have profit, right? Whatever the profit is, let's keep 50%, right, for overheads, so we can start the business up, right? And then let's distribute the other 50%, right, 50-50, okay, for example. But the point now is you've got really clear, like, that everyone's getting paid their way for the project and the deal. Then no one can complain to say it's not fair 50-50 because I put more work in, because people are getting paid for the work, right? Which is what you're going to need to do with any business anyway. So this is like the most important thing. And then you can make money, he can make money. And most importantly, if there is no profit, that's fine. People can still be making money before the profit, and then everyone's actually happy, right? So you have to do that. You have to set the service agreement up separate from the ownership or the shareholders agreement. The other thing is that once you're actually setting something up, you have to also have the triggers of when this thing grows or needs more support, when this thing should be shut down, right? Like, what's the worst that can happen? What's the best that can happen? So for you to say, right, the milestones of this when we get going is that after 1 year, we want it to be at this level where we've got this much revenues, we're delivering these things. So there's an accountability to it, because the worst thing that happens in a joint venture is mismatched expectation. He thinks it's going well when you think it's going badly, or vice versa. So if you actually are always in a place where you're saying, okay, if we can hit this, that will be really awesome. If that happens, we should be then investing more money in building a team, right? What if it doesn't happen? Well, if we don't get to at least 70% of that, it means we've done a pretty bad job. And we should then review whether we should even be continuing with the business or not, right? And we should also basically review about what we should be doing with the branding. You might say, if you can't get to 50%, we should review if we should even be doing this. Because if he's still doing it and you find another partner in Ireland who comes along who really wants to do the job, and you're stuck with him, and he's kind of dragging his heels, there's no way for you to get out of it, right? But if you already said that, like, failure is that we don't get to at least this level, and you both agreed on that upfront, then when he's not hitting that level, at least then you've got performance criteria in terms of continuing as well. So those are the biggest things I would say, is those three things. Make sure you do a test first. Make sure you're really clear in who's getting paid what for the effort before you share profit, and make sure you actually know what is success and what does failure look like a year and 3 years in the future, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Roger, just a quick one. How do you manage that star creator relationship, given that we're very similar in profiles?
Yeah. Okay, good. So, so there's a question on that one, which is also similar to Gavin's question here, although there are different profiles as well. And the answer is, with start with a creator, you have to be really clear who's the one calling the shots from an operational point of view, right? So, best thing to do is to actually make sure that you're setting yourselves up already with the idea of being shareholders, where you can say we're shareholders, but we're also going to be setting up basically a board. Where you're going to be there, he's going to be there, and you're going to meet up, let's say monthly, and where you're saying you're not the one driving it, he's the one driving it. Like, he's the guy who's in charge. He's the one who puts the plans together. He's the one who basically puts the proposals together. You give him feedback on that, and similarly, you're also driving your side, right? Like, so you have those two elements, and you're not in a point where you're saying, well, I think we should do this, and he goes, well, I think we should do that. And it's like, geez, now how do we decide? But it's no, you've got to decide who's actually the one who's leading it, because you're too close on that side to grow it. You can do one thing, which is actually set your roles up in such a way that you say, okay, Alex is going to be overall in charge of the final structure of any deal, which means it's got to pass you by, on that first. He's ultimately in charge of the marketing to actually make sure he's getting the funding in and he's finding the deals in the first place. So he'll do that instead of you. So dividing that up and creating a real clarity on who's actually leading what. I do this with any company where we've got lots of creators or anyone dynamo like mechanic or star. You have to give them ownership in a particular area, and then at the same time you're really clear on what your ownership is as well, right? Then it can work, right? And the more you do it around projects, the easier it is, because then you know who's in charge of each project as you go. With Star Lord, it's a bit different, because laws generally don't want to be driving projects. You'd much rather be driving processes. So with Star Lords, it's about actually understanding that there is a way for two quite different people to be working together. Best thing I would suggest for you guys is to read this book, which is called Rocket Fuel. So Rocket Fuel is a book which is part of the Entrepreneur Operating System. So it's a great book which is about the idea of visionaries working with integrators, which is the idea of like a CEO and a COO, which have got totally different roles. And it's about how the two of them link together to have one person who's very head in the clouds and one person who's very executional. And that's basically what I think. I mean, you got that, Louis is much more visionary. Gavin is much more executional. And so this tells you how you work with the two together. But I also think, coming to what I just said to Alex, you also separate out the two of you so that you're operating in different parts of the business in terms of what you're owning. So for example, Louis can say, right, I'm going to be going for the high-end stuff that we're now launching, because we don't know what's going to work there, but we need me on the front end to make sure I figure that out. Gavin, you're going to work with all the operational stuff of what's working now and make sure that everything there is working really well and that we're actually achieving it all. And you're the head of that, and I'll check in with you to say, hey, how's that going? But I'm not going to override you and say, no, we're not going to do this, we're going to do that instead. So by actually, on the one hand, each of you looking at it from a structural point of view of CEO, COO, for example, and then at the same time, looking at it from the point of view of who's executing what projects, and taking ownership on different projects, that allows everyone to go in parallel without two people trying to both lead the same thing at the same time. And then you give each other the space to then lead by objective, right? It's like, well, this is the milestones, this is what I was going to achieve. Don't tell me how to do things. You don't need to. At the end of the day, we're checking in with a rhythm to say, are we actually achieving what we said we're going to achieve? Even if I'm achieving it a different way that you might achieve it, that's still okay, because I'm still hitting the milestones of what I said, right? And this is about everyone giving everyone else a space to be able to actually run their business or run their part of the business in the most effective way too, right? So I'll just give you this link, so you've got that as well. And on the next call, if there's more questions around this, I'll go through the actual process of designing the whole year, because we all should be thinking right now about 2019 and the design for it. And I'll show you all of our processes of how we've set it up. So everyone's got very, very clear objectives that they set themselves of what they're going to do. And if I know what their objectives are, I'm not going to go and interfere with their stuff, because I know that they've actually, as long as they're hitting their stuff, I should be happy anyway. And so everything's milestone based, and then we then can see what everyone's going to do and how, right? Best way to step away is exactly that way, just having that rhythm that you're designing, and actually just designing it in such a way that you can then actually give everyone else that same space to be able to grow based on their profile as well. Promotion plan review, right? So we're coming up to the final few things here. In fact, I think we've just got at the end, Joel, I'm going to kind of complete on here. On the promo plan that you guys shared here, let me just go to it. It is, oh, that was Jane's page as well. I said I will give you a bit of feedback on this, Jane. So here's Jane's page. She couldn't keep cards and sidelines, so she drew new lines. I like that. That's cool. So here's Jane. Very nice picture. Strategist, business coach, mentor, public speaker, connect with Jane, compelling journey. This kind of stuff doesn't work very well anymore, as you can see, right? It's like, what am I looking at there, right? So you might want to kind of just get rid of those elements there, because the pictures here are much more striking. Compelling journey. You know, this, I know this is a really silly thing, but it actually is really, really important just from the point of view that you've gone for clean lines. When you've got a mismatch of color like this, it really stands out, right? It might not to you, or might not as much to you, but to someone very visual, it does. Just change the color of this to be the same color as the flower, right? Because if you do that, because it shows up down here as well, it's obviously part of the imagery, right? So that does make a huge difference when you do that. But this stuff is the distracting bit, which doesn't work. You can't even read what this says to go over it, right? So get your web designer to get rid of that. But otherwise, the way you're using the red, build it all the way through, because then it's a really clean design, which works really well. This stuff here, you're going more for credibility. Turn this more into conversation. You know, that's, I think, the real key thing here is, again, like, use something like Maria's one, because she's like awesome at this. You'll see the way she does it, and you don't have to have the same vibe as her, but you can see that basically the way that is, you know, she's got her blog there. You know, she's got basically like, you know, the ability, she's got a very personal message. Hi, I'm Mary, like who she is. She's first person in the way she is. My work is this. You should be first person as well, because people already engage with you when they meet you. So you're third person on this one, where it's all about talking about this person, rather than you being the one who's actually, you know, on your site creating a conversation. And then from there, for people to then be a link to your Facebook, to your LinkedIn, so they can go, oh, this is a real person that I should be trusting, because look, there's a conversation going on, you know, there's a party going on that I want to be a part of, right? That would be the main stuff. So I think the design looks great, and it's just that whole kind of like shift towards something much more personalized, which I think is going to really work way better for you. Okay, so coming over to promotion plan. So here, let me see, I think it was actually in the other one. It was, okay, I'll come back to what I'm showing here in a minute. Let me come to this one. This is beyond home care. So this is the main site. The reason I wanted to open up this main site is when you come to this site, the imagery, you can see it, right? You've got the pink going. You've got a very, very happy person here. You know, only superheroes can deliver beyond home care. Love what you do. Keep learning, growing every day. Find a better way. These core values. And it's like, that's so awesome. And it's like, you can imagine this lady coming to the site and going, oh, this is like, oh, I want to find out more about this, right? And when she goes to welcome, we go to live and care. Then suddenly the images are gone. It's very like, oh, images down here, which is good, but you want it up here, all right? It doesn't have to be underneath some words, but always like remember that 90% of people never scroll. They just don't scroll. So you want to actually tell the whole story right up here, right? That's what I would say, which is really super important, and bring the imagery in as well. I mean, like if you look at any of our sites and so on, you'll see all the imagery showing up everywhere. But anyway, let's just go through this. Following the successful launch of our new live live-in care service, providing just 10 clients to join our live-in care service to maintain. See, this one here, no one cares that you've had a successful launch. They care about themselves, right? So the real question here is, rather than going through explaining like this, you know, to actually be able to, you know, ask a question which gets right to the problem that someone has. You know, are you looking for the highest level of live-in care and finding it difficult and finding no service that matches your expectation? Right, and then we're inviting just 10 clients to join our live-in care service. We've already grown to be, you know, one of the leading, home care providers in Scotland. Now with our brand new service, we are providing to 10 clients, you know, the highest level you'll find in the country. People go, oh, I need to know about this now, right? Because you're going right to what is the problem they've got. You're going to solve it with the very, very best proof that you're the best people to solve it as well, right? And then people go, well, then tell me more about this. What do I get? And then that's when you then get into this. You've gone into third person, right? Evidence shows that elderly people are happier. Imagine that you don't need that evidence to show that if they remain safely in their own homes, because the person who's reading this is either the elderly person or it's their daughter or son. And so they know this. They're like, don't tell me about evidence. I know this stuff already. You're kind of preaching to me rather than making me feel really excited and comfortable that you're the person I should be working with, right? So as our loved ones age, so the change, put the why in there, right? Like if you get rid of this one here and you go straight to this, as your loved one ages, as your loved one's age, frailty, death, as well as can be a real cause for concern, right? Our live-in care service, you know, gives you peace of mind and gives, you know, your loved ones the best care that money can buy, or something like that, right? So you're talking to them and they're going, that's what I wanted to hear. Talk to them as if you're sitting across from them on their sofa at home, and you're giving them the assurance that you're the best people and this is why, because you really understand where they're at, right? And that's the way you should really design this in terms of the conversation you're having, because everyone's looking for that now. They're always looking for that connection, right? And then when you say, what is live-in care? This is too non-contextual. So it's better to say something like, how does live-in care compare to normal home care? Or how does it compare to like whatever service they're going to be used to? Because they already know that. So connect always a known with an unknown, or an unknown with a known, as opposed to just what is it? And then that way, when you're saying, oh, it does this instead of that, it's like, oh, that makes much more sense, right? It's 24-hour support that I get. It's this. So that then actually gets people excited about it. And then you can then go into the detail, which is what you're doing here, which is great. And you'll get to that detail from people in the next level up. And this all looks great, right? All that kind of stuff. Great photos, but the photos are at the end. You want these photos way, way up higher here to capture people's attention, right? And again, there's more in it than that, but I think that's the kind of key things already you can pull in for your pages. And then final thing I wanted to share is all of the stuff. I know a lot of the stuff already is very relevant to Joel and where you're going. You've got basically this idea of doing the massage agency. I would put, if you don't need to do much on that, I wouldn't, because what you actually figured out with that is that there's certain services that people really, really want to have, like the right person connected in the right way to help you. You've just heard how, Louis and Gavin already are doing this with home care. This is exactly what Junior School is all about, actually giving people a way to find an educator close to them that can either, come into their home and help them out, or can actually, give them an opportunity for their kid to actually be like at a whole different level of inspiration. You could take that same model that you've designed for the like virtual massage agency or Uber of massages, and you can turn that into the Uber of education, right? Because focus at one thing. So if you're getting passionate right now about what your daughter's doing, you're getting passionate about education, do all of it under that, right? Say, well, I've got this model already. By the way, when you speak to Angie, you'll find that's exactly the model she's using right now with her Education Angels. So she's building Education Angels into Junior School, and Education Angels is basically now the largest provider of in-home educators. It was originally in-home childcare, right, for young children. She's turning them all into educators, right, home-based childcare for children 0 to 5 years, where she basically has brought all these people that actually care about children, brought them in, trained them up, and then basically got them all over the New Zealand, where the government's actually paying for all of these educators to actually help their kids, not just to look after them, but actually to educate them as well, right? Which is so super awesome. And so this is just like the whole, like find someone for a massage, but now it's find someone to look after your child and also to educate them at the same time. And the most important thing for you is, rather than go to them and say, hey guys, I've got a whole better way that you should be revamping. And because you find when you speak to them, they've already got lots of plans going. It is a startup. So, and there's no question, there's lots of stuff you could do to help them out. But the first thing is to really be saying, what's a project you can do in England? Because there's already many people doing projects, but a project you can do in England based on their product range right now. So when you connect up with them, you'll find they're doing genius camps, right? Which is at the highest level. It's kind of like running a camp. You'll find that they're doing micro camps, which are in schools, where you go, oh, that's an easy thing for us to do. We could actually run those micro camps with some of the schools we're already speaking to. And you'll find they've got the packaging of how to do a micro camp. And you get connected to people like Sandy, who are already doing micro camps in Vegas and so on. And then, rather than saying, I'm just going to revamp all your branding, I'm going to revamp all your stuff, you say, I'll do the branding I need for my microcamp. I'll show you what I can do. And then they're not there trying to figure out, do we really need Joel on board? What's his education qualifications? All that kind of stuff, where you're then waiting around for them to make decisions. You can just go and say, right, I'll revamp the designs and stuff I want for the microcamps I'm going to run off the back of all the talks that we're doing right now. And then straight away, you've got a model that actually allows you to then just demonstrate just through that project, things are working out. And then, of course, it's going to capture their attention. And then they're going to go, oh, we should be doing more with Joel. And then they'll bring you in just naturally into all the global stuff that's happening as well, where you can then be of value there. But always start with the project, as we were saying earlier with Alex, and then build up from there. And maybe it's not a micro camp. What we're doing in Thailand is we've now got Pat, who's starting with a micro school, where she's actually saying, right, we're actually going to start with the school where we're going to bring together 10, 12 kids and have the teacher. And we're going to build from that, because that's what she wants to do, right? But that's because she looked at all the things they were doing. I don't want to do the camps right now. I don't want to really want to do the educator program right now. I don't want to do the micro camps. I want to do the micro schools. And so everyone's starting with whatever is their comfort level. And then we're testing all these different models out based on what people are doing in the past. So you choose which is the right model you want to go for it, make it better than anyone else. And then from there, that then leads into the next step. And it's getting into that environment. Obviously, Sebastian can already tell you all the things that are actually planned. And then when Angie and Rustika, who've now come back from Greece, when they get connected with you, which we should definitely make that connection between you guys. If you're not, I'm pretty sure you're connected them already. Start with that, saying, give me your menu, and then I'll look at it and say which one I think I could actually do the best job of, and you grow from there. The reason I actually had these here, by the way, is someone I really think you should connect with is Tamsin, and another one is Jeanette. And the reason I say that is because Tamsin is also, she's one of the ones who got in, who joined as one of the certified educators in Genius School, and she's part of the team already as well. But what she did is so similar to what you guys are doing. She's in Australia. She set up a foundation, which is called Alive, which is ending youth suicide. She has all of the big, like NRL, all of the football leagues, all of the sports leagues in Australia, which are supporting her on this. She has got this program. She's a leadership coach. She's got this program, which is called Get Real, where she is supporting all of these kids on these kind of camps that she does. And she's actually turned this into a leadership program that all these different clubs, as well as all these different companies, are now paying for, so that those companies are then fundamentally sponsoring all these kids through the leadership training they're getting. And that was all through the Crystal Circle mentoring that I've been doing with her. And she's based, like I said, in Australia. But I know if you speak to her, you'll get really inspired by the stuff that she's doing. And it could be that there's some of her programs that you decide would be the easiest ones to get started in the UK, because her stuff is way more advanced than where Genius School is right now in terms of, like, you know, the way that she's developed it, which is really awesome. With Jeanette, she's done the same thing with her Spread the Happiness campaign, and she's obviously in the UK as well, where she's got already, like, you know, hundreds of schools and thousands of teachers that are part of her program as well. And the only reason that we haven't integrated Jeanette in more is she's just been so busy. Tamsin stuff we're already integrating into the stuff we're doing at Genius School as well. So that's just final thing I wanted to share in terms of connections. I'm going to stop talking now because I've gone over time. I want to give everyone a chance to share whatever's biggest thing that's come out of this call for you in the same order, which means we will kick it off with Joel.
Right. Hi, everybody. I think that was one of the most useful calls I've had to date. I've written a million actions down, but I think you're right. Well, I know you're right. It's about demonstrating traction and ability rather than demanding conversation. So I think it's very useful to look at these other people and actually choose what's the first step we do, what's the first product we use, and then just through these connections you've given us, and then yeah, just demonstrate traction and ability to be a valuable partner.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, fabulous. All right. Well, good luck with that, Joel. And look, if you're looking for any connections, I mean, just drop me a Skype message and I'll connect you with them as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's great. Okay, awesome. Richard and Kerry.
Hey, Roger. Thanks again.
Hey, guy. Hey.
Yeah, so we've been super in the kind of like looking for investors. So I've been really involved in all that kind of thing recently. So it's been quite fun to kind of like start playing around with products again just for a short time and figure that out. I'm really glad that Alex was on the call because we seem to have similar questions, but he remembered to ask about JVs, so I got all those insights.
Yeah. In fact, and landing pages as well.
Welcome, guys.
About a week ago, because we've literally just been working on landing pages the past couple of days. So I'm going to look through all this stuff.
So really, yeah, really cool tactical stuff. So thanks.
Awesome. Very cool. Fabulous. Alrighty, Sophie.
Awesome. I agree. It's been a very, very good call. Many insights as always. I am still a bit stuck on the whole how to package what I do. Not the creation of the products, because I get that and I can sort of work that through. But as you know, I have From Sweden Productions, and that is a production company. And it's just, I don't know what to call myself. Do I call, and by now also adding the educational side to things on a deeper level as a consultant, etc. What do I call that? Do I call that Business From Sweden or From Sweden Entrepreneur Academy? Or do you see what I mean? That's holding me back right now.
Well, I think that's a very different question. That's all about your brand, your personal brand, and what you want to actually call, you know, what you want to be branded as, right? So we can talk about more about that on the next call, right? Because that is a question about branding, right? But for you and your personal brand and what you're doing, obviously it's not just about productions anymore. But you've already got the From Sweden, so use From Sweden, right? The fact that you've got it means that people know that, right? You can create the From Sweden group, and in the From Sweden group, you can actually have From Sweden Productions, you can have From Sweden Education. I mean, you know, you can build that off the back of that. But it's about, obviously, you know, creating an entity that's going to work for you now, based on the fact that you are doing more education side, than just doing the production side. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the reason why I'm asking is because I don't know how, when I create landing pages or new websites and how to package and sell it, I don't know how to do that, under which umbrella. Even from the social, when you add logos to the site, I don't know what logo to add. Should I add the productions or the from Sweden, or create a new one?
You need a new brand that's going to cover all of it, because From Sweden Productions doesn't do that. Yeah.
So the naming of that, you mean we should talk about next time?
Yeah, I mean, you can already be working on it to say, well, what actually is going to actually allow me to take the whole, idea of what I'm talking about, which is largely at the moment on the education side, right? Or it's on the training side, and it's actually say, right, I'm going to come up with a new name now, and you start the whole process as with any name, right? Which is that you actually start and say, I'm going to come with all the key values that I believe in this name, or the key ways that I want to, talk about this name. Go back to year level 1 and look at. Like the whole first thing is like, well, what are the companies that you actually want to be, green level 1? What are the companies that actually already doing things similar to you? What do they call themselves? Just go through that process. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'll do that. And I'll prepare something for next call, and maybe you can give me some feedback on that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right. That's awesome. Let's come over next. I think Jane had to jump off. So let's come over next to Christina.
Hello, hi, yeah. So same as everybody else, it's been a really great call. Thank you so much, and got loads of notes to discuss with Daniel when he gets back from Argentina. I think the key thing is, I suppose we need to sit down now and really just get clear on our brand and what that looks like, and come up with a name and really get clear on that. And also I made a note that we need to really start thinking about our next 2019 12-month plan. So those are kind of the key things that we need to crack on with and really get clear about. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Fabulous. Thanks. All right.
Cheers. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Lucas.
Yeah, for me, just a couple items. One of them was the reminder of 2019 that is approaching. So thinking about our solution and the version 2 of the product, despite the fact that the version 1 is not released yet, to have a road plan and how we want to tackle the market. Second item or second point was how you went over the landing pages, different landing pages, and what to look for and what to do and not to do. I think that's a key differentiator, because people will take like 3 seconds to look at something and they will either close or they will be interested. So I think these 2 points.
Great. Okay. Awesome. All right. Thanks, Lucas. Let's come over to Gavin. Gavin is on Lewis's line, I think, and the video is off and the mute is on. So I don't know if you're actually there, but you can hear us. If you are, you can unmute. Or he might be out making a cup of tea, which I'll assume he is. So I'm going to continue on with Peva. Oh, you got to unmute as well on your side. There you go. Still can't hear you, though. I'm not sure why. Last time, I think you unmuted and we couldn't hear you, and then you did something like unmuted and then we could hear you. Still can't. Hey, guys, we can't hear you. We can see you saying thank you, but we can't hear you. I think. There you are.
We are thinking much different right now. This is absolutely amazing for me. It's much bigger than my expectations.
My son.
Good.
I'm son of Piva. My name is George.
Oh, hi, George. All right, fantastic. Very cool.
Yeah, I have big paper. What I have to do right now, and we are thinking much different right now, I think.
Good. Excellent. All right. Well, good luck with the launch as well. All right. Fantastic. And finally, Alex.
Yeah, last but not least, thank you very much, Roger. Another great call. I think for me, it's good. Sometimes, when you're in Emerald group call, you think you've got to be pushing the green level and, trying to go to blue level. But sometimes you might need to take a step backwards. And so just actually listening to all of the yellow level stuff today was actually quite refreshing. You need to start with some of the basics to keep that traction going. So more about I know about the personal brand stuff, but I'm not really doing it. I have got a website, but I haven't set it up. So, I've got a little bit more traction around that, trying to build all 3 elements, the product, the personal, and the company brand. Got some really good ideas out of that as well. And this duck soup stuff. I am on LinkedIn, I actually maxed out my LinkedIn, told me off, and now I can't search for anybody until the next month because I've been adding too many people, you know, doing exactly what you've been telling me to do. But I will go into groups that I've joined and start actually providing content, because I notice as soon as you start doing that, answering questions, then you become that lead learner or
exactly,
you know, that kind of role. I think that's what I'll be focusing on.
That's awesome.
And go from there. Yeah, thank you very much.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Absolutely fantastic. Great. Oh, and I saw your question. What is the default page for that I'm using on the internet? It's something called Momentum. Yeah, it's a Chrome plug.
I've already downloaded it. It's in.
Okay.
Installed.
Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, great. And I love that everyone else is also giving you suggestions as well on best things on what to be getting on systems and so on. So that's awesome. So guys, have a fantastic month ahead. There's a lot of exciting things going on. So looking forward to hearing all the updates this coming month. Have a brilliant month. Thanks, Darius, for all the calls this week as well. And we'll see you all later. Have a great weekend.
Yes,
bye, guys.
Thanks.